What's up, mother truckers? How we doing today? Supercoach is open, ladies and gentlemen. We're up. Supercoach is open. Welcome, everybody, to 2024. We're up and running. Welcome aboard. It is 7:30 skits. It's 7:30. We're keeping it in a little bit of suspense, as you say, B. James. Mate, we're looking to have some fun tonight. Globes, how's it going? Much love, my friend. And Causa, always an absolute pleasure. Come on, change comments. What is going on? The comments are stuck. Global, I promise I'm not trying to do this, but we're going absolutely bananas. Loose cannon. It's got to happen, mate.
What's happening, Joe? First episode of the year. I mean, not really, but first episode of Supercoach being open. Mate, they've changed a lot if you haven't seen, and I guess we're kind of going to go through a lot of that today, huh?
Mate, everybody and their mother has seen by now, especially all that crazy news about the 40 trades. But I don't even care right now. I just want to get my hands onto some Supercoach, and we're on fire. Let's go, Skits. Let's go. Global, you're a loose cannon, mate. How can you not be? Supercoach is open. Sloppy. Jonas, I'll never get over you saying that these days. Shannon had Supercoach quite early. Congratulations to you, Shannon. Evening, Colin. Thanks for coming on, mate. Unbranded, welcome once again. Matthew Anderson, Mr. Anderson himself. Mate, it's going good. Let's effing go. We're freaking going places, mate, aren't we, Jez?
Yep. Yeah, no, 100%. It's we've already started off on a big year, and mate, we're not slowing down. What have we done? Almost like 30-odd episodes out of 35 days of Supercoach opening, pumping out content every day, doing some bloody amazing stuff. And now the game's open. I don't know how you've got 1,800 as your projected round one score. I think that's one of the highest I've actually seen in general at the moment. So, yeah, you're beating me on that front, Joe.
Get around me, mate. Get around me. It's the year of the Joe. I have a feeling. I got a feeling. Big J, Corey's asking you, Big J, do you like my team name? Fishing for Premiums to do with Zach Fisher.
Yeah, go for it, mate. Anything North Melbourne related in your Supercoach team, I'm all for. So, no worries. I love it.
40 trades is great. Sideways, primos through the buys. Look, we're going to have to talk strategy, Matthew. We're going to have to talk some strats here because it becomes a question of do we now take this opportunity to start more early buyer players because we can sideways primo, or can we still avoid them, try and field as many people as possible that might not be optimal starts? However, because they don't have the buys, we can always trade into them later. So that's a question that we're going to have a discussion about, I think.
And the big thing is with those early buy trades, some people will do it and some people won't do it. So it's going to really come down a little bit to the meta and kind of what everyone's doing at the moment. I think that in itself is probably going to dictate quite a lot. I had a bit of not an argument, but definitely like a conversation with some people on Facebook over the last couple of days of just kind of, hey, look, this is what you can do with your early trades, and maybe this is what you should be doing. So, yeah.
Jonas, I saw that, Jonas. I don't think you were in Supercoach Edge's live stream. Massive shout out to Damo and Liam at Supercoach Edge with the hat giveaway. I actually was in the running for that hat, but I stepped down and I thought, you know what? We'll let someone else have a go. Congratulations to you, Jonas. B. James is asking, thoughts on starting C. Harvey? Cooper Harvey, Jez?
Oh, I don't think he's worth it. To be honest, I don't even know if he's best 22. He's kicked 4 goals in the scratch match this week. But in terms of actually playing, I mean, for the same price, you can get a Finn McRae who, yes, plays an earlier week. Sorry, yes, plays round 0 and then has the bye. But yeah, I just don't think Cooper Harvey's got the scoring there, to be honest.
52, 37, 16. It's nothing really to sing home about.
He's a small forward. Yeah, he's a small forward in the arguably one of the worst teams in the AFL at the moment. So
exactly. Yeah, no, I totally hear it. Reeksies. Thanks. Welcome aboard, Reeks. Thoughts on James Trezise? Precise Trezise. Let me just open up our friends over at DFS Australia. He played one game last year and he scored a 90. And now all of a sudden we're all excited about.
Who's he play for?
He plays for Richmond, mate, in the back line. He's 200,000.
It's an interesting one. I've heard some things about him, but it's more a watch and see over the actual preseason to kind of see where he ends up. Because I know there's like him and Gibcus, and then I think Brown as well from Richmond, who are all kind of guys that might end up playing. So new coach comes in, obviously it opens up a lot of possibilities. So it's going to be a big wait and see. But that's okay. I mean, it's only January, right? So your team doesn't have to be like set at the moment.
For some reason, he wasn't popping up on DFS. What round did he play? Round 24. All right. Now, sometimes, here you go, guys, for people who are new, I encountered this problem when playing AFLW Fantasy. Sometimes certain players don't pop up if you type their name in there. So a workaround to do that is you go to the game itself. You got their last game. We'll go to the results of the last game of the season of 2023. And you want to sort of scroll down to round 24 was the last game. And you want to go to that. So in this case, James Trezise is a Richmond player, played for Richmond. So we'll come to the game statistics here. And then you should be able. Now, I know he scored 90 odd off memory. There he is. James Trezise. You click on him there, and you've sort of gone a roundabout way of finding the player. He's actually put under Jake Arts, and that's why we couldn't find him before. He's been misnamed as Jake Arts. It's okay. But if you struggle to find any player, that's the go around. You go to their last game, you click on the game statistics, and their name will pop up. So that is a free tidbit of information there. Supercoach Voodoo Coach as whatever. I love it, Globes. Absolutely love it, mate. Free advertising for Supercoach Edge. I'll be wearing the hat around town. Well, why wouldn't you? It's a very classy looking hat, Jonas. When are we going to get some merch done?
Yeah, we got to try and make that happen at some point, I reckon. I don't know what design we could do, because unless you're going to have your head like on people's hats or people's t-shirts, I don't know. I'm not sure how you're going to feel about it, but yeah, we'll have to figure something out.
I don't feel bad, but I don't want other people wearing my head around. So
there you go. So we're going to have to figure out. I think we keep the logo and then figure out maybe what we do in terms of in terms of merch that way. But I'm all good, mate. We could make a few centre bounce t-shirts and hats and coffee mugs and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, right.
Do it.
Coffee mugs. I cough in that coffee mug. Jen, how's it going? Thanks for coming on.
What's up, Jen?
Corey has a sneaky pick. Tom Cleary, a watch, 140K, might be playing on a wing. Ooh. Tom Cleary playing on a wing. I don't normally like wingers, but if he's 140K, it might be worthwhile, Causa. Now, if we're looking at James Trezise, he scored a 93 in that game. Now, there was no Gibcus. So, obviously, Gibcus was injured, and that's part of the reason why Gibcus is actually at a reduced price. Gibcus used to be, when he first came out in the game, Gibcus was over 170K. And now this year round, he's at 150,000 because of the discount for less games. Would have been great if he was even cheaper.
Crazy. I think that's crazy. These rookies like coming in now, 3 or 4 years into the system, being cheaper than what they were when they came in their draft year.
Exactly. And when you look at it, and that's the reason why everyone is really sold on him as a player, because when you look at what he was able to do when he was around 56, 48, 62, he's even capable of 102, if you don't mind, against Melbourne and 79. Like, these are decent scores for someone who's at 150K. He should make us money. And because we've got more trades than ever before, it also makes it worthwhile that you don't have to hold on to him for so long. As soon as he makes you just a little bit of money, maybe not even around 100,000, you can probably flip him fairly quickly. He averaged 53.7. And when we look at here, 53.7, he's priced at a 25, I think he was priced at. So
yeah,
he's
well,
he'll jump up in price.
One of the things to consider as well is that it's not necessarily just what his past scoring is, but also it's a really good placeholder price. And that's why a lot of people are starting him. And I think basically any rookie that you're hearing about at the moment in the preseason is like, cool, if they're going to get consistent games, then we're going to throw them in our team. This year is definitely going to be dictated by the rookies, but also where the cash is going. So that's kind of where Gibcus is a fair shout, I reckon. You might find out, Joe, that you're going to have a few more rookies on the bench or on the field. So kind of see what happens.
I sort of don't want more rookies on the field, though, to be honest. In a best 18 format, I'm honestly thinking that it might be better to because now it used to be until the 40 trades popped up, it was very much guns and rookies. But now I feel like with the news that we've got 40 trades, all of a sudden I almost feel more encouraged to take a bit of a risk on some more mid prices. I've even got freaking Nat Fife in here at the moment, with all the news that he's popping off in training and playing full-time mid, etc., etc. I don't need him to last. I just need him to get maybe through a few games to the first buy, and then I just trade him up. And I've got more trades now than ever before. Why not?
No,
like
2018 wants their team back, man. It's a crazy one. I mean, like you can definitely do some weird things. I know you've got a few of these players in there. Maybe not a Fife. Let's say if a Fife turns into a James Jordan. And then, like, you've got your Buderick and stuff in there in the back line. So it is very much a preseason team, but I can definitely understand what you're saying. Maybe even if they play a little bit, you flip them to another player during the bye round that they have early or things like that. Yeah, mate, these multiple trades and kind of the way strategy's working, it's definitely something to consider. Yeah, it's pretty crazy at the moment.
Zip Zap Zerha is my team name. Big J will love that.
Love it.
It's very nice. Stubby holder, Jez. That's an idea, Skid.
Yeah, you can do some things even just with those like color change mugs and all sorts at the moment. So yeah, well, we'll definitely have a think about what we can kind of do.
You're right, Jonas. I saw that news and I instantly thought about that as well. Luke Ryan, so you obviously got Young, who's moved out of the back line now.
Yep.
You've got Brayshaw obviously playing the mids. You got Cox, who's injured. Chapman is gonna pinch hit on the wing as well as playing at halfback. It's just it's gonna be a Luke Ryan backline, honestly. It's and I know a lot of people are averse to picking Luke Ryan, but honestly, like, come on, the scoring potential could be off the charts. I'm honestly really likely to try and start Luke Ryan. Am I crazy, Big J?
No. He's slowly pushing himself into my side at the moment. Just kind of, if you were to play a third backman, obviously I think Sicily is probably a lock for me. Probably a Hayden Young. I mean, if you've seen our Hayden Young video. But Luke Ryan, man, came out of nowhere last year, has always been around the mark in terms of scoring. And if he's going to get more time, we know how good the ball is going to be. We know, like, Freo potentially could be in a lot of pressure. I saw a video today saying, hey, look at Freo's fixture, right? They could be 1-4. They could be 0-5 to start the season. As much as Damo and a few of our other Freo fans don't really like that predicament. The ball could be in their backline a lot. So, yeah, it's definitely something to watch out for, I think.
And he already takes the line share of kick-ins. So that there's...
And now Hayden Young's moved straight from the back line to playing midfield. So
exactly.
Who else is going to do it?
Exactly. So when you come to the kick-ins and you go to Fremantle and you scroll down, Luke Ryan was by far and away, he had 119 kick-ins. Second place was Hayden Young with 43. So crazy. Hayden Young's out of there. You know what I mean? Like, it's just more kick-ins for Ryan. I think he's going to be in my team, guys. It's pretty cray, but when you look at it objectively, I don't think so. Bryce, good to be back, my friend. Good to be back. Fair enough. I just think it will outscore McKercher and is 50k cheaper. Who's going to outscore McKercher by?
I think he was saying Tom Cleary, maybe. No, just working my way
B.
back.
James.
Oh, Cooper Harvey.
Oh,
mate.
maybe? Oh, Cooper
Harvey's
Harvey.
not. Cooper Harvey's not outscoring McKercher.
Come on, man. You can't
we need to do a hot takes video as quick as we can. Cooper Harvey outscoring McKercher. Let's go.
Mate, I want. What odds are you paying? What odds are you paying, B. James? I'm taking you up on that offer, mate. Globes, I'm seeing some love for your man, Shitfield. Don't call Whitfield shit, man. Whitfield's actually a very good player.
Yeah.
Especially back in those Orange Tsunami days. I could have sworn I remember last year predicting a jump up in Lockie Whitfield scoring because there was all the articles that Kingsley was going to bring back the Orange Tsunami, that he was going to put Whitfield behind the ball in his rightful position at halfback. I think I could have sworn I predicted last year that we're going to see a massive jump up in Whitfield again, and we sort of did from 86.1 up to 94 and he played every game last year. So that was one of the big issues that Whitfield had was his durability concerns, 18, 17, 19. But he managed to get through unscathed last year, as did Tim English. So can lightning strike twice in the same spot?
Potentially, but there's a lot of stuff holding Whitfield back. The fact that it wasn't great last year, and you've got some options like Hayden Young for like 10k more. So good luck to you if you end up picking Lockie Whitfield, but I won't be. No. And come around, I'll have to check, but early buy round.
Correct.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting one.
Yeah, the early buys. Whitfield is one of those players that I'm not a big fan of for early buys. I mean, it's not expensive like Tom Green where you could easily maneuver him to someone else. Like, what's Whitfield priced at the moment? I mean, 519. There really isn't anyone.
So do you pick him or Hayden Young for 5k more? Come on, man. Yeah,
exactly. Nah,
bit of a crazy one. Some people will take him, Jared. There won't be anything. The problem with Whitfield as well is round 3 is really awkward, right? Because round 0, that starts kind of their cash gen. Round 1 they play, round 2 they play, and then round 3 is their first price rise as well. Yep. So you kind of know what you're going to get. You can sideways to them or whatever happens. So yeah, I don't know. I mean, Whitfield could come out. He could be the one. People did shout me out on Twitter and on Facebook saying, look, Tom Green had a couple of really crappy games against West Coast and North Melbourne when he played them in 2023. So Whitfield could be the one that goes bang against those two worse sides, and Tom Green could be, fairly even.
It might be
someone said he scored like a 105 and a 77 against North Melbourne last year. So, yeah.
North
77. Yep.
77, and against West Coast. Am I blind?
Further down.
Might be blind.
West Coast, 106. So it's not huge scores, right? They're not going crazy. Maybe Whitfield's the one to kind of pick it up.
I think it might be Kelly more than anything. I think Kelly in the midfield will might go berserk. Have Finlay McRae. Yeah, Finlay McRae. He's not here at the moment, but he was there before. Definitely getting a lot of attention in the media. A lot of Collingwood supporters are hyping him up in training. And King as well thought that he gave him the 3 votes from Match Sim on the day. So that's really keen. Really good to see that we've got a 150k rookie perhaps who could make us money very quickly. It sucks that he's got the early buy, but you never know. Hopefully it makes us, he obviously plays for Collingwood. Hopefully by the time he gets to here, he's made us enough money for us to flip him to someone perhaps.
Well, yeah, it's the perfect time to do it. Like if he played round 6, maybe that would have been better, but round 5 is okay. The big question is for me, and maybe you can help answer this, and maybe Jen or someone else who really loves Collingwood can help answer this too, is whose position does he take? Because that Collingwood side is very, very strong. Does McRae come in and say, cool, there's no more Taylor Adams, I take your spot? Or is someone else kind of left from that team or positional changes have happened a little bit. Generally, rookies don't come in and steal kind of an experienced person's spot unless someone's left the side.
Yeah, that's true. Could be depth, could be someone, I don't know, but he's been playing. I think from reports he's been playing mid forward. Obviously Ginnivan left, but that's going to be replaced by Schultz.
Well, you'd think so, yeah.
Yes, I don't know. Matthew Anderson, personally really liking Harms in the forward line. Also keen to see Jordan as well. Yeah, round 0 is going to be so important. Let me know, guys, in the comments if you'd like for me to do like a watch along, I suppose, of these games, because I think the round 0 games are going to be so bloody vital to what decisions we make in our starting lineups, that we're really going to have to go over them with a fine tooth comb.
There's four round 0 games, and I think we're probably going to do like a watch along for all of them. And then we're going to end up doing like 8 videos out of the 4 games. I think that's how important it's going to end up being. Because it's the gateway. It dictates who we're going to bring in, who we're not going to bring in, who end up having to be must-haves for, in terms of cash rising, and players that we don't want in terms of cash rising as well. There you go, Jennifer.
Thank you, Jen. Much appreciated. Totally forgot about Taylor Adams. That's pretty ridiculous of me. Harmless was hopeless last season. Looked cooked. Can he turn it around? Look, he's gone from one crap coach in Goodwin to another crap coach in Bevo. So I don't know, Jonas, how that's going to work out.
Yeah. From all reports, he's doing okay. I think the Doggies definitely want to have a lot less of McRae in the forward line, and then have him kind of in that position. So there's opportunity there. Obviously, Bailey Smith going down as well means that any positional things that they did have for him pre-trade period have changed. There's a few players. Last year, there were a lot of players around that 300K mark who were mid-prices who we had to have in. I think this year, like the 250 mark is really going to be a lot of those players. Harms, Billings, James Jordan, that kind of thing. 50K cheaper than what we had last year in Whitfield and Hopper and James Warple and things like that. But yeah, there's some really good value. And a few of them have DPP as well, which is great for us.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know if I'd be picking Harms over at James Jordan at the moment, but yeah, it's definitely something to look at. Harms and if Harms plays, he's only got to play like 5 or 6 early games, and then bam, that's it. So yeah,
I think having less rookies is. I don't know. Now that we've got the 40 trades, I just feel like we can be emboldened to take a bit more risks with the mid prices. I feel.
Yeah.
And if they don't work, we can still downgrade to whatever rookies that are must-haves. Free up some money there and upgrade other places.
I think so as well. It's more making sure then that the guys you bring in are the ones that are going to make real cash, because 250K is going to be really awkward. Like if you only get 50K out of Harms, you're still behind in terms of upgrades versus like 150 to 200K you get out of like a rookie. So yeah.
I mean, he's priced at...
Or a James Jordan who might score like 50 points more than him every week. So,
perhaps, but we'll find out more information about that.
And that's where round 0 is so important, Joe. Because all these guys are playing round 0.
Exactly. Will Brodie in the guts? I don't know about that, Max. I know, obviously...
I'll tell you what.
Mate, I know we might see reports that he's playing in the guts, but all these are still intra-club games. They have to play against each other. They need to have enough players for 2 teams. And I just can't see it. I can't see Will Brodie recapturing that form from 2 years ago. If they've moved Hayden Young in there permanently, I'm not sure Will Brodie gets in ahead of him. So
yeah, and that's the tricky thing, right? Is like they went from not playing Will Brodie to now playing Will, like potentially whose spot does Will Brodie take away for one, and then Fife is apparently back and playing more midfield as well. So you'd think that they probably want a Fife over Will Brodie. Potentially he might have had injuries or whatever. Potentially, they've discovered that a big body mid is a tricky thing. But I think Dan's right in saying Will Brodie in the guts at Peel Thunder.
He is a Freo tragic, Dan. Much love. Thanks for coming on, my friend. Hope you're doing well this fine evening. I got Rixie is asking, will Sean Manor make round 1?
I think
if
so.
he doesn't make round 1, I don't know what Geelong picked him for, to be honest.
Yeah, Geelong did very well with Stengel playing early. It's going to be a watch over the preseason, obviously, to see kind of where he is. But you don't pick up 26-year-old players who fill a need in your team to not play them. This guy is so good. He dominated in the VFL last year. And then, clubs just don't do it. It's kind of why I'm a little bit sneaky about an Oscar McDonald, actually, as well in that Freo backline. Because you can pick guys up for depth, but it's a bit of a tricky one.
Did this guy did he kick the most goals in the entire VFL?
I think I'm not sure about the VFL, but I know he likes to kick goals.
Sure.
There are a lot of clubs that were after him around that 30 mark. I think Geelong was very, very lucky that they had quite a few picks in that range. I know North Melbourne and a few others were sniffing for him.
Check out that grand final performance. He kicked 6 goals and 28 disposals in a grand final, like in a losing grand final. What a star! Honestly, this guy, he's gonna play. He's gonna play. I think Manor plays early, mature age. Yep, correct. Agreed, Matthew. Cause is asking, do you reckon Daicos is a must-have now with 40 trades?
It's a tricky one, right? Because it kind of a lot of people are going to have the strategy of getting these guys who are round 0, at least the crucial ones. Like round 0 pre-40 trades kind of had me not wanting to pick up a Petrarca or a Daicos. But it really feels like now it doesn't hurt as much as what it was going to. So, if you think Daicos is going to be as good of a scorer for the first 4 rounds, I know he's got potentially Finn McGuinness in round 4, but if you think he's going to be good enough as a scorer, I have no trouble with picking him because he's going to end up being a pod. People are going to see round 0, at that, and a lot of these pods really hurt us, and I think he's going to end up doing that for us.
And it's Finn McGuinness at Adelaide Oval as well. It's not even Finn McGuinness at the MCG. It's Finn McGuinness in a smaller Adelaide Oval, which makes it harder to escape from. So, look, is Finn McGuinness even best 22? That's something that, we got to ask ourselves. But at the same time, it's Sam Mitchell, and he showed every time a real willingness to try and shut down Daicos as much as he can. Even in a preseason game, he had Finn McGuinness tagging Daicos, and that's why we all didn't start him last year. So if he's willing to tag him in a preseason game, I'm pretty sure he's going to tag him in round 4. So I'm pretty happy. I'd be happy to trade Daicos in off his bye. Personally speaking, I'm happy to wait on Daicos.
Yeah, it just depends, right? If you think he's going to be scoring good, then pick him. If not, then not. But he's definitely going to be lower ownership because of that early buy. Yep. And I think that's what we're going to see for a lot of them as well.
Correct. Thoughts on Angus Sheldrick? I love this guy. I love Angus Sheldrick.
I think he's fantastic. I think the only issue with Sheldrick is the fact that they've come in and brought in a few other players who play a similar role at the club. Sydney love competition. I think competition is the greatest thing ever. Does James Jordan come in and take a bit of game time? Does a fit Taylor Adams come in and take a bit of game time? Sydney really haven't lost any players in that midfield versus some other teams. So they kind of had a little bit of competition, and now they've come in and put more competition into the team. So, just kind of preseason watch, but really good price for what we're looking for in Supercoach. But the midfield, for example, really feels like you're picking premiums because there's some really good expensive ones, and then you're picking like 2 rookies. So it's going to be a bit tricky to kind of work out exactly what we're going to do this year.
Yeah. And we also can't forget that Matt Roberts is back. Yeah. And we've also got Matt Roberts back from injury as well, who is a gun mid. There's a lot of competition for spots in that Sydney Swans midfield. So does that mean that we might see less CBAs for Errol Goulden to play more on a wing so that they can fit all these players in there? It's a question mark. That's why round 0 is so vital, Jen. I actually reckon this game, the Collingwood, all 4 games are absolutely vital. We're definitely going to do watch-alongs for those games, I think, regardless. So,
the
Kyle, how's it going, Kyle?
the good thing too is that I think a lot of the round zero games are actually fairly well matched, and we're going to see a lot of really good players kind of play in those rounds. You know, sometimes when players come in and it's just like, oh, cool, it's North Melbourne versus like Collingwood, like the preseason game is, and you know it's going to be a slaughter, right? First game up, Sydney versus Melbourne is going to be very competitive. Second game up, Brisbane versus Carlton is going to be very competitive. Gold Coast versus Richmond obviously is going to be very competitive. And then GWS versus Collingwood. So, you know they're going to end up playing their best teams. It's not like they're going to play players who are just trained on guys that they're going to do stuff with. It's worth premiership points.
Right.
Yeah. So, definitely, I think they're going to probably play their best teams, and we can take a little bit, maybe not so much kind of scoring, but definitely positional points from those games.
Yeah. This one's for you, Jez. I'm talking about Zane Dersma.
The only issue with Zane Dersma is that he's mainly going to be a forward for us. So he's got to compete with a lot of people in that team. And yes, he did kick 4 goals. It probably helps to have him being considered to be a round 1 starter, which is fantastic for North Melbourne. Don't expect 4 goals every week, because it was like 2 teams playing each other. And it's 2 teams playing our back line. So it's not like our back line is probably the best. We've got no back line. And then now we're playing intra-clubs against no back line. So you can pencil him in if you want. I think he's too pricey. Potentially Lazaro might be a better pickup, who I think also is DPP,
Yes.
if you were looking for a North Melbourne player. But, you know, it's a fair shout to say, cool, I'm going to select him as a placeholder now and then watch him during the preseason games.
Yep, for sure. Max Bing is, why do you have Buderick in? All right, now, Buderick is someone I was going to do a video on, but because you've picked up on him, Max,
You can still do a video, Joe.
I'll give him a sneak peek. Come on, it's all right.
All right. That's fair.
Connor Buderick, this article came out last week. He's got a point to prove. Now, I don't care about his points. I don't care about his proof. Ultimately, what I care about is that his position. Correct.
Yeah.
And the new coach, Damien Hardwick, has already identified a role for Buderick, one that brought a smile to the young son's face. Does it bring a smile to our face?
Depends.
Playing off halfback. Playing off halfback will be his position. He sees me as similar to Jaden Short or Liam Baker. Those boys who used to look after as that ball user off halfback. Okay. Now, how did Jaden Short do in as a halfbacker over there at Richmond? All right.
Not too bad.
Shit. What was his first name again?
It's an interesting one, right? Whenever a player comes in who's around that 300k mark, who has played some okay footy in the past, we can definitely have a think about potentially putting him into our sides. It really has just been Zach Williams' season at the moment. But if you don't have a lot of money and you think, hey, look, I want someone to make me a cheeky, let's say 150k at the most, Connor Buderick could be that player for you. The only thing is that early buy kind of pushes me away a little bit, but it kind of depends at the moment how many primos. I mean, look at your back line now. You've got two premium keepers and then Buderick. So, you know, it is how kind of teams are going at the moment.
Yeah, I'm not too keen to stack the back line. I'm happy to. I reckon there'll be a bunch of players to get defensive DPP this year, so I don't think there's any. Plus, I'm going to get Daicos as well, so I don't see a need.
Amon in there too.
Exactly. So I don't see a need to stack the back line. But Buderick, Max Bing is going to play the Jaden Short halfback role, and as we see Short's statistics, his numbers for the last few years, he's basically been a 98 average. And if I can get a 98 out of someone who's 300k, that is bloody good. Obviously not going to be a keeper, but I'd be making a lot of money on this guy really quickly, is my hope, with the Connor Buderick sort of the decision to have him in my back line. He is a bit of a pod. He's not going to be widely owned. And that's
by
sort
the end
of
the season, you might not have him to.
Correct.
But by the end of the preseason, it's kind of just talk about right now.
Yeah, exactly. He's here as a placeholder for now until I look into it more. Plus, we're going to see him in round 0 play that half-back role against Richmond, and I like having him here sitting there as opposed to maybe trying to force and really drastically change my team afterwards to try and fit him in, as opposed to just simply have him sitting there. And if he's no good, I can always adjust later. But
Yep.
if I can get 90s out of him, then
You're
sort of laughing.
You're laughing. Gets you to around kind of late 400K price. Easy.
Yeah, easy. So that's why I've got Buderick in there. Max, hope that answered your questions. Matthews agreeing about Daicos being a must-have. Everyone's worried about the tag. Yeah, he could go 120 plus, but if he does,
it's going
kudos to him. He will drop in price. He will drop in price after the beginner's tag anyway. Yes, I lose out on points there, but as long as I have another captaincy option that can match him or go close to him, then I'm not losing out too badly, I don't think.
No. Yeah, it kind of just depends. Like if you pick Luke Ryan and he goes 120 and other people have Daicos, like it doesn't hurt you very much, right? It just means you don't have Daicos. So it ends up being an upgrade target instead.
Yes. Steve's asking, can you tell me more about Billings?
He used to play for St Kilda, and then now he's gone to Melbourne, and he's cheap. No.
Thanks, Jess. That's deep. That's deep analysis there, bro.
I know, right? That's why you guys pay me big bucks. I mean, I pay myself big bucks. They still don't have a picture of him in the Melbourne grab, but I guess they'll have that.
He hasn't played yet. Why would he be in there?
I know. I was just getting excited.
Calm it down, as our good friend Abs would say. Just calm it down. Look, Billings, I reckon Billings, he was a good pickup for Melbourne, and I think a lot of people have him because they expect him to play right off the bat. I think he's going to be a best 23 type of player, and I think he's going to be playing as that link-up, high half-forward sort of option over there at the D's because their entries inside 50 have been really bad. Their connection between the midfield and the forward line has been one of the big disappointments in recent years. They sort of kicked themselves out of finals the last 2 seasons in straight sets, dare I say. So it's something that they're going to look to try and get some more experience, some more experienced, cool heads, I suppose, that can take the ball on, get the ball inside 50 and can hit the scoreboard themselves. So I think Jack Billings is a very fine selection at his price, and he's certainly discounted because he only played the 3 games last season. So he's gotten a discount. He's underpriced for what he has historically provided, and therefore it just simply makes sense to pick him up. Doesn't matter if he plays for an early buy team. We're not looking to keep him for the season anyway. We just want him to play, make us some money, and flip him to someone better.
Yeah, like conceivably, you could probably flip him until like come round 6. So he plays the first 5 games. Round 6, you flip him, and that could be the perfect time to start doing that as well. So, yeah,
exactly.
It's an interesting one. I think Melbourne has space for one of these players. I'm not sure if you touched on James Jordan leaving, but Melbourne had space for one of these players, and Billings being that mature age player, similar to a Geelong, right? You can kind of take on Billings as that type of player with Sean Manor. Geelong brought in Sean Manor because they think he's going to play. He's got experience, that kind of thing. Melbourne, they'll do the same thing with Billings, I think. They played Hunter on a wing, wasn't that great at the Dogs, got him back to speed, and then he played for the whole season. I think Billings is going to do the same. Half forward, kind of potentially a tiny bit of mid-time. The way to go.
Cause I like the 20 leagues with groups, as like head-to-head leagues. Also, like the ownership. Yeah, absolutely. It's they've done a lot of work. They've done a lot of work on the interface to sort of give us more functionality, give us more stats, more numbers. And plus, I actually really like this layout here as well, personally speaking. So they've done an amazing job.
It's an interesting one. I don't know if we want to go over the features of Supercoach for this year, but really feels like this year is the first year where having Supercoach Plus, I mean, there's a comment before about Supercoach Plus and how do you get it, but having Supercoach Plus actually has an advantage over not having Supercoach Plus in terms of some of the search functions. You break evens and whatnot, but you can generally get those off third-party sites. But there's some pretty interesting things in the search bar this year with in terms of searching.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm not disappointed with Jonas Whitfield as a Supercoach STD. Will spread
I think so
infection
as
throughout
well.
your team of boys.
There's a reason why I'm not picking him, Jonas.
Oh my god, that's unbelievable. DGB also cheaper than his drive fear, so there's that. Yeah, but DGB is a hot mess. Yeah, screaming bust at the moment. That's not Gibcus though. Gibcus ain't a bust.
Well,
Gibcus is actually staying in the back line.
There's a reason why a few clubs definitely came in and said, hey, do you want to come to our club? He decided to stay at Hawthorn. Hawthorn decided to keep him. Maybe he gets traded after this year if nothing happens. But yeah, it's a bit of a crazy one. For such an early draft pick, yeah, bit of a bust there.
Yeah. Whitfield will have Northern Eagles, but can also trade to Coleman Newman.
Yep.
Both of which I don't really want to go near Corey. So
no, me too. Me too, for various reasons.
DGB would be lucky to get a game in the Eastern Footy League. Yeah, he'd be lucky to play for Danny Stingrays at this rate, Jonas. Yeah. You're right.
Hey guys, if you're watching the stream and you like what you're saying, just smash that like button. Yeah, let's get it to like 20 likes. We've got enough people watching, so yeah, we'll keep going for a couple of hours left.
Sneaky R3 could be Nathan Kruger for McStay replacement. Fair, cause of fair.
Yeah,
there's a bunch of sneaky R3s.
I think Kruger's one of those guys at Collingwood that plays a role when he is playing, and I think kind of him being that age and demographic needs to start getting games, or it's going to be, hey, look, chopping block time for him. Some of these guys, I don't think they can carry that long. They've got Matt Johnson is another one as well, so we'll kind of see and watch over the preseason what happens with those two. And obviously we get round 0 as well.
With Adam got that, sorry about that. Jonas, with 40 trades, you can even
Jonas.
Carl Amon and kick him in the curb in 2 weeks.
No risk, Jonas. No risk this year.
In 2 weeks. You reckon he's going to make his money that fast, Jonas? I appreciate that. I like that. Flag Player 33, congratulations. Opinions on Sam Walsh and Touk Miller.
Yeah. We'll have a video coming out soon on the kind of the guys who we think definitely offer something within that 500 to 600K range, because there is quite a few. But yeah, Sam Walsh coming off injuries is a much cheaper price. But mate, there you go, Joe. It kind of shows you a lot, doesn't it? If he's second in Brownlow medal already.
Not advocating gambling. That's not what I'm doing. Yeah. Sports bet. No, don't. Look, if you want to sponsor us, we won't say no.
Yeah, definitely. Like we'll take the sponsorship, right? No dramas.
But the bookies tend to know shit, right? Yep. Bookies know stuff before we know stuff most cases. So if he's second favorite in the Brownlow race ahead of Marcus Bontempelli, who's been robbed multiple times, they know something. Sam Walsh could very well be a top 6 mid. Could very well be. Mm-hmm. I sort of want to look at him, though, very closely in round 0, how much wing time he has to play, how many CBAs he has, because they've got a stacked midfield. He obviously ended the season like a house on fire last year. He is absolutely one that you can't sleep on. We're going to be watching him he's probably the one that we're going to watch the most in that Carlton game, to be honest.
Yeah. There's a few of these guys who definitely you have to look out for, and I think kind of it really just comes down to their makeup. And it actually comes down a little bit to what we had with Petrarca and Green and a few other things. If you're happy with you spending some trades in that time, in those buy rounds to take these guys out and potentially bring these guys back in, go and do it, right? If you think Sam Walsh, right? You look at Sam Walsh, when does he play? Okay, round 2 doesn't help me that much. But if Sam Walsh played like round 5 or 6, you could just ride the wave with him, hope he's going to go up in cash for a little bit, and then offload for one of these more expensive guys later.
Yeah, he doesn't get the price. He doesn't get an early price rise. Him and the Carlton and Brisbane are the only 2 teams that don't get an early price rise because they only play 2 games before their bye. So you could avoid, plus round 0, you don't get the points for anyway. So if you start him, you're literally only going to get points from him from round 1. That's it. And then round 2 is bye, and then finally comes back in round 3. Like that AFL is just so messed up for doing this. We already knew the AFL was stupid, but this just takes the cake now. Like, unbelievable. Like, this guy comes in, Andrew Dillon. His ass has barely touched the seat, and he's already set the whole joint on fire. Unbelievable. Meanwhile, Touk Miller, I love Touk Miller. Wait, is Jake Arts popping up? I don't want Jake Arts. I want Touk Miller. Touk Miller is a gun. He's an absolute superstar. He's gone before. I've advocated for him before his injury-affected season last year. He went 120 and 124, which is bonkers. That is absolutely top 6 mid status. And for his current price point, it's an absolute steal at 545. But we get the benefit of looking at him as well in round 0, and so that we can have a look and see how Dimmer Hardwick is going to play his team. Obviously, it's a new coach, new system, what the CBA breakdown is like. We look at Touk Miller. We look at Flanders. Round 0 is so vital, flag pies.
Yeah, I think so as well. There's a few guys in that team. I think Matt Rowell is going to be one. I think Noah Anderson and a few of these other guys. Some touted to take more wing time, some touted to take more forward time as well. So, yeah, it's going to be something to watch.
Mate, Riggs is friends with Manor. Bro, you gotta tell him the boys at the Centre Bounce would love to have him on as a guest. We had Caminiti on last year. Love to have Manor on. Is Dusty a sleeper pick? I'm taking him watch their training. He dominated. Dusty.
Oh, can we get blighted into picking up Dusty again? I don't think so. Okay. You're not going to pick him in the midfield. You probably won't pick him in the forward line. There's enough mid prices there to make cash, and I think most of us are taking McRae and Flanders. So if DPP wasn't a thing, I think potentially you could have a think about him. But yeah, it's a no from me. Knowing us, he'll come in round 1, score like a 140 because it's Carlton, and then after that, just be like, yeah, whatever. So
what is Carlton's what is Richmond's fixture?
Because they do have that early game, so we don't even have to worry because Richmond's playing Gold Coast in the first week. So Supercoach hasn't updated. So if you have a look at you're searching for players, they don't actually have in there the round 0 games. So I'm looking at this saying Carlton versus Richmond. That's not the first game. The first game is Richmond versus Gold Coast. So
yes. You know what? This might sound like I've smoked pot before coming on, but I actually like Dusty as a pick more than McRae.
Yeah. It does sound like you smoke pot, Joe.
I like Dusty more than McRae. It is what it is. I don't know, man. I don't know. I'm maybe psycho, but
you want a 30-year-old player versus a guy that was a premium like 2 years ago that lost his role and now looks at him getting his role back.
Bro, Dusty Martin. Look at Dusty Martin's run home, right? We compare his last 4 games, 121. We compare Dusty's last 4 games, and let's compare that to what the heck is going on.
I think McRae was injured for his last 4 games as well, and that's why he ended up missing out round 23.
Injured.
There was a couple of times where he got crunched and then was relegated to the forward line. So, yeah, I understand the scoring. I'm not saying the scoring is no different because I felt the scoring. But if he's got the role again, I think McRae's a much better pick.
We don't know.
Potentially both go to 500K, but even then, I know which one I would pick to start with.
Yeah, I don't know. I think I can't trust Bevo as far as I can throw him, and I can't throw him. That's how little I trust Bevo. Thoughts on Miles Bergman, gents? Currently in my side as hoping he will play the Tom Stewart 2.0 role, 0% owned. Well, we wonder why.
It really depends because Port Adelaide's come in. Obviously, Houston plays a really big role, but then they've thrown 2 more players in their team who you think will end up being best 22. I'm not sure how many of these guys they're going to be able to play. Maybe Bergman ends up coming off the bench instead of playing kind of to start with. So it's a watch and see. But yeah, it's a real tricky one.
Look, he might play this Tom Stewart role.
Yeah, he looks good. He was the Birdman last year. Like, we wish that we'd started him, and then he didn't. What was it, like round 0 or something? Round 1 where he was like a late in and no one picked him in Supercoach and then like went blammo and started scoring really well.
Yeah, but I mean the Port Adelaide backline is going to be entirely different. They added Sava Adagalia, they've added BZT. They might be feeding the ball a lot more to Dan Houston and to Miles Bergman. Someone to keep a close eye on over the preseason. I haven't really heard too much about him, to be honest, B. James. How he's tracking in the preseason, but I'm not entirely sure. Not entirely sure that he's how much does he cost, Miles Bergman?
I think he's fairly cheap.
368K.
Oh, he's not very cheap.
Mate, just go Buterick. Go Buterick, my man.
You might get a bit more value out of a Zach Williams and Chapman at the moment.
Chris Burgess and his teammate got 51 or so equal for the VFL goal kicking. Okay, there you go. What's your thoughts on the media about Smith and Collingwood? Is it done, you reckon? Is Baz Lenka off Collingwood?
There was a picture of someone at a coffee shop, and you know how the media loves to run with that kind of stuff. Like, you know, a player can't go out with his mates and watch a movie without there being conspiracy theories of guys to come in. So maybe. But it'd be a Collingwood thing to just come in and be like, cool, we've got some money, let's throw it at Smith. You know what I mean?
Yes. Pendlebury will move to the back line, I think. Okay. And that sort of opens up a spot for Finn McRae. Yeah. Cool.
But potentially, I think that was something that was touted early last year. And I think that's why Daicos kind of was a little bit iffy to start off with as well. That, hey, look, Pendlebury's coming back in Daicos' second year, taking a little bit of that halfback time. But obviously, we kind of know what happened, right? So, yeah.
Have you checked ownership? Not really looking too deeply into it, Globes, to be honest. I'm not entirely concerned about what other people are doing.
At least this early.
Especially this early, exactly. There's still so much water to go under the bridge, and there's still the round zero game, there's still the practice games between the other clubs in the preseason. So I'm not entirely concerned about the ownership, to be honest, Globes. I do like to try and pick the best team that I can possibly build. If it means not necessarily picking a cookie cutter team like everybody else, then so be it. But not really looking at ownership too deeply, Globes, at this point.
I think for me, it probably, maybe warrants a video kind of end of January to kind of see where teams are at, and then the same thing end of February to kind of see if anything trend-wise has changed. But yeah, it's very, very early days.
Exactly. Ray spoke about Buterick for Steve. What will Sam Draper average this year? That's a good question.
Much.
I actually haven't thought about big Sammy Draper. Let's see. How is he? Because he's not even in full training yet at the moment.
You've got this idea, Joe, that Sam Draper probably isn't even going to be best 22 at the moment. So, yeah, we'll kind of see what happens with there, right?
Well, while injured, yeah, he can't play, but he's close to full training. He's definitely upping his running. So, and I think when he becomes fully fit, I think we're only going to rock him as our sole ruckman, and we're going to, I don't think we're going to play two rucks. I think the two ruck experiment failed for us a lot last year.
Goldie doesn't keep the number one spot, or you think Draper's fit straight away, Goldie's out?
Well, if Draper's not fit, then Goldie rucks alone with 2 meter Peter pinch hitting in the ruck. If Draper is fit and firing, then I think Draper is our number one ruck. And we only play the one ruckman. So I think the two ruck experiment wasn't too great last year. Yep. So I can imagine that there might be a bit of a bump up. He's training with Goldie. Goldie's teaching him the tricks. I reckon Drapes can push. I reckon we'll see a 10-point bump. I reckon it will go 85.
Yeah.
It's not a bold call. Not a bold call, but it is what it is. Clary's asking how we can purchase a Supercoach subscription. Clary, just focus on getting healthy, mate. Just don't play Supercoach. Stay away from the game. Just get your mental health sorted. You don't need to worry about Supercoach, Clary. Just stay away and come back healthy.
Oh, you're a funny man. I think you have to go into your actual account. So the top right-hand corner, either your name or the Supercoach Plus button. Actually, it's actually the Supercoach Plus button. You click that, and then you can put in your details and then subscribe.
He's kidding. This is not a real question, mate.
He was asking. Maybe Oliver likes to play Supercoach, Joe. How do you know? He's jumped on our channel. He saw our live stream on. He's like, mate, I want to know how to play Supercoach. How do I do that? Let's go.
All right, mate. Thoughts on a sideways Petrarca to Bont and his buy to get him cheaper? Oh, Bruce. Interesting. Look, I reckon Petrarca is going to be... Now, I've read somewhere online that apparently Clary is not going to feature for at least the first half of the season. At least. And Petrarca, without Oliver, is like a 125 average player. So...
You have to pick him. If Clary doesn't play, you have to pick Oliver.
So I'm not against the Petrarca to Bont.
That makes no sense. If Clary doesn't play, you pick Petrarca. Not if Clary doesn't play, you pick Oliver. That doesn't make sense.
No, that doesn't make sense at all. You're just basically picking a loop player. I'm not against it, but we're going to have to keep a close eye on Bont, Bruce. Bont has openly said in an interview that he's going to play more forward this year. So we're going to keep a close eye on that.
I'm not sure if we had flagged Bont as one of those players in our DPP predictions video, but we definitely saw him playing a lot of that role last year. I think he just offers something a lot more than a McRae or someone else does, similar to a Petrarca, right? And potentially even an LDU in that forward line, like these big body, mature age guys who really have that power. And Bont has that marking ability where he can just stand there. He's almost like another key forward for that team.
Yeah.
The Dogs need more key forwards, right? So, maybe he doesn't rest in the back line or rest on the bench. He just rests forward and potentially opens up a goal. Just something to watch. I don't know if, going off kind of what Bruce is saying, I'm not sure if Bont is going to drop that much in cash to be able to sideways him early, but it is something to watch.
Jonas, does Dersma from Essendon even know how to play anymore? Mates,
there you go.
Jonas, you will see firsthand whether or not he'll know how to play football anymore. Don't you worry about him, Jonas. You worry about your Blues. That's all I got to say.
Mm-hmm.
Bryce, thoughts on Grundy now at the Bloods? Will he improve Supercoach wise? Well, certainly won't regress. That's for sure. He's playing as a sole ruckman, and when he played as a solo ruck at Melbourne, then anywhere he plays as a solo ruck, he's absolutely flying. He's got a great midfield to hit the ball down to. He's got Taylor Adams there to make him feel at home. Oh, we can't forget that Grundy, unfortunately, was really used out of position playing centre-half forward and coming off the bench. And he was playing second ruckman, and that's not what Grundy is. So there is no doubt in my mind that Grundy is going to improve this year.
Yeah, and I think Joe might end up doing a bit of a video on him, but smaller ground being at the SCG, I think their contested numbers are a lot higher than what a lot of other grounds are. During wet time, SCG, more centre bounces, more bounces in general. Grundy could jump up, let's say, 25 points. Easy. He could end up putting himself from what position he is to top 3 ruck pretty convincingly. So I think he's going to end up having a point to prove after being at his third club in 3 years. And it's going to be one to watch. There's a reason why we're picking him, basically.
Correct. In the 4 games where he had 60% plus ruck contests, he went 122. So for 480K, that's just an absolute steal. Like, almost feel dirty doing that. Globes, thoughts on the real Martin this year as a round 6 swing into the back line? The real Nick Martin.
Well, it won't happen in round 6 because DPP happens round 7. So, we're already behind on that one, Globes. But for me, it's a no. I think Joe will probably have another opinion, but for me, it's a yeah nah at the moment.
Nick Martin is a real pick, mate. Nick Martin could be pushing top 6 to 8 defense because this guy is a pig. He was one of the best wingers in the league. We needed to move the ball quick. All preseason reports are saying that he's training at a halfback and everything was going through him. He's in the top 5 disposals every week. He's very exciting. Mate, the more I read about Nick Martin, the more I want to put him in my side. The only reason why he's not in my team right now is because I am overly conscious of my potential bias as an Essendon supporter, and so I'm doing everything I can to make sure that if I pick him, it's on his merits. It's on the merits of the selection, and not because I'm a diehard Bomber fan. So that's why I'm still keeping both eyes on Nico Martin Globes. He's
funny because Merritt also plays for Bombers. So
yes, correct.
Yeah.
But you picked up
had
on
to
the
make
joke.
that obvious for everybody.
Well done. Thoughts on Witherden without Hearn this year? Look, that's a question, isn't it? That's also another problem.
At the moment, I don't know if Witherden's actually playing. Like at the moment, I think he might still be coming off injury. My brain's telling me that he had some surgery done, and then there's a few other players who are potentially taking the same, potentially kind of training in that position. I know Corey Burgle was one who had been touted to play it. So yeah, it's a watch and see at the moment. Big
Let's
watch
have a
to
look
kind
and
of
see.
see during the training period time.
All right. So I'm right now. What I'm doing is I'm flicking between the kick-in breakdown to see the games where Shannon Hearn didn't play, and I want to see how Witherden performed without Hearn in the side. So Hearn did not play in rounds 5 and 6. So rounds 5 and 6, he didn't play in 9 and 10. Oops, I pressed the West Coast team button. 9 and 10. He didn't play 13, 14, 15. 13, 15. Didn't play in 17.
21, 23.
21, 22, and 23. So only 21 there. So in the 8 games where Hearn did not play, Witherden scored 88.6.
Yeah, so it's not much. This is what he thinks Budorik's going to average. So
exactly. But I reckon Budorik can do this, Ian. And what's Witherden's cost? Witherden is 472.
Yeah,
mate.
This is why we look at stats, guys, because stats don't lie.
The stats don't lie. Obviously, you have to do a bit more research as well. The stats don't paint the entire picture. You got to look at a bunch of different things, but just on a prima facie level, at face value, I think Budorik's a better selection, which is pretty crazy.
Yeah.
Have you heard Adam Sandler? Yes, Jonas. I know that's where Sloppy Joe comes from. Love Adam Sandler, so that's why I can figure of it. Happy Gilmore is my favorite Adam Sandler movie. I just got to put it out there. Don't put Will Spreaderfield. Don't be surprised if Will Set a Goat features in our team this year. Don't you worry about it, mate. Skits, I like that. So you liked our stream at 6:30. Love you, Skits. You're a legend. Amon is only in 4% of teams. What a joke. I don't like it. Mate, keep him low. Keep him low ownership causer. We want to keep him for ourselves.
Pretty much, right? Like, I think the early trades in round 0, especially, and a few other things, including the increased trades, are going to allow people to sideways into kind of these mid prices or guys who are cheaper. But if Amon's coming out and scoring like 110, 110, 110, I think a few people are going to be like, hey, Sam Walsh, see you later, mate. Or even someone else who aren't performing that well.
Perhaps. Jinby and Warlord. Skits is just pronouncing to the world, Jinby and Warlord. Can I show you my team? Yep, no worries, Theo. Just pump it in the comments. B. James, pop my Supercoach Gold membership this year and should have done it years ago. Spent hours looking for break evens over the years. LMA.
Yeah. If you don't have it, Footy Wire is fantastic. It does update generally the day after, though, so you're not going to get live information straight away. But there are options to go and do things. But this year, definitely in the search function, there are some changes. Being able to search in terms of players like filters. You can search things like, cool, who's ranked in the top 1K, who's got him in the top 5K or 5%, that kind of thing. Some real things that might change the game for some super coaches who are trying to be a bit more competitive. So, they're slowly trying to put in some factors and some things that, make it worthwhile. So, for us, I guess that's a better thing at the moment.
Or you can also stay tuned to DR, Supercoach with DR with his stock market videos, and I was the face. I was the face of Set a Goat last year, which is pretty crazy. Oh my god, look who it is!
Yeah.
It is the GOAT, Jesse of True Footy. How's it going, mate?
How you doing,
Welcome
Jesse?
aboard.
I
Mate,
actually messaged Joe. I don't know if you know, but I actually messaged Jesse when he was doing his live stream the other day. And we're going to do a big collab with Jesse during the preseason. So stay tuned for that. We've got to figure it out, but yeah, it's going to happen.
God damn. All right. He's just sprung it on me now, and he knows I'm a big Jesse fan. Oh, jeez. Oof. Oof. Thanks so much, bro. I really appreciate it. Welcome aboard anyways. What else are we doing here? Who are your first few premium players that you are targeting in the opening 10 rounds? Asks Steve.
Yeah, I'm going to end up doing probably this week my power rankings. Top 8, top 10 across the line for each team. But yeah, there's definitely a few players who you are going to be picking and who aren't. A lot of them are in that 600k range. But let's say first upgrade. I know Joe was saying Zach Merritt potentially after his bye, Joe. Is the way to go. Yep.
Love Zach Merritt.
But it's always your Bontempellis, your Petrarcas, that kind of thing. It's going to see over the preseason if the strategy is going to be load up kind of on those round 14 players. We're talking Port Adelaide and Freo, and then kind of build the team around that. But the bye rounds this year, they aren't that favourable, which is kind of a tricky thing. I think it might be round 15 bye, which is actually quite tough. There's going to be a few good players in there that we have to dodge.
Yeah.
So end up picking
Dawson,
you guys.
Daicos, Sicily, all the Dogs boys.
Yeah. Sinclair as well.
If you have him. Yeah,
Laird
and Dawson.
Yeah. So it's really going to be a case of, cool, we're going there, we're going to upgrade guys round 12, round 13 as quick as we can. Potentially have 1 or 2 or start round 14, 15. But yeah, it's going to be a tough one for a lot of us. There's some players who it just looks nasty. I'm glad we've got 40 trades. And it might be the strategy this year to actually keep a boost for round 14 and 15 so you can make sure that you've got a top 18 that are 18 primos at that point, because it could really hurt you not having that.
Yeah, I'd say just in a simple, short answer to your question, Steve, I think Daicos I got to have in my team because he's definitely going to be top of his line. He's someone got to target. If I don't have Petrarca, he's someone I definitely have to target. Yep. If I don't have Walsh and he appears to be top 6, he's got to be in the side. Tom Green, definitely someone's got to be in my side. I think there's upside at his price. So those are, and depending on Tuke Miller, he's also one. So those are, in a nutshell, the key important players. We'll have the buys. And I like Zach Merritt from round 7 on. I think our fixture opens up a lot. And I think from round 7 on, Zach Merritt is going to show why he's a top 8 mid. Just early prediction from now.
Yeah, I think Essendon in general get better as well. So Zach Merritt, obviously, that flows along.
Yeah, and then and I definitely think Sinclair after his buys is sensational. McRae's playing more forward, says Max. That's my biggest concern. That's my concern about him. Hopefully, Harms can play that role that he played, and we can get over it.
I heard Max. I heard a training report from last week that basically said McRae played almost 100% mid-time. So I don't know if things are changing, but yeah, I heard that in one of the training reports. So something to watch over the preseason.
Richmond's fixtures losing lots of games, banker. I can see it too, Jonas.
It could be. Let's go in and pick up all these good Richmond defenders who are cheap. Happened with North Melbourne. You know, there's a reason why Jack Zeeble basically became a premium for 2 years and why Sheasel was that player for us last year, right? Wins the rising star because the ball's always in his position. So could be a few players like that for Richmond and Freo especially. People are touting them to kind of not have a great season. So Luke Ryan could be the sneaky pod that we're all kind of dying for.
Okay. All right. Theo is giving us his team. Jonas, Sicily. Okay, Jonas. Oh, sorry, talking to Jonas. Okay. Sicily, Young, Williams, Trezise, Sullivan, Caulfield. Yeah. That's a decent backline. Not too bad.
I really do think. Sorry, Joe, for cutting you off. Right. I really do think at the moment, pick your rookies. Pick out how many rookies you're going to have. Because if you look at Joe's backline at the moment, he's kind of equated for 3 rookies. As long as you've got enough money floated, you can kind of pick out whoever. In January, you're kind of picking out what spots are allocated for rookies and then building the team around that. So, look, I've got 3 rookies in my team. I might have 5 rookies in my defense, that kind of thing, and then picking the other spots as the players you want to keep. Sullivan could end up being Gibcus. Caulfield could end up being Marty Hall, whatever else is going to happen. We don't know exactly what it is, so we can say, cool, these are the rookies you must have. It's more about just placeholders at the moment.
Correct. Hearing Hardwick is playing small forwards, it could be good for Sicily. Yeah, Hardwick playing small forward, but Amon's coming to the back line to eat into some of his kick-ins. So It's not necessarily all sunshine and rainbows for Sicily, but I think there's no doubt he'll still be top 6 defender, which is pretty cool. Gibkis, Pink, Butters, Goulden, Sarong, Brayshaw, Cripps, Paddy Cripps, Nick Martin, McKercher, Sanders, Curtin, Sharp, and Clark.
Nice.
Look,
Cripps.
Butters is good. Goulden, keep an eye on. Sarong is good. Brayshaw's good. Cripps, keep 3 eyes on him. Like, grow an extra eye right there so that you can keep all 3 of them on Cripps. Jack Steele. Thoughts on Jack Steele? Look, from reports, it seems that he's buffed up a bit. And he's actually doing better in terms of his preseason training. It looks a lot better to the eye as opposed to what he did last year, which is why a lot of us didn't start him. He didn't tick a lot of those boxes for us. He could be a steal. At his price, Jack Steele could. I don't want to say he could be a steal. That's just low hanging fruit.
Really good. There are some really good value options at that price. And Jack Steele, if he works out, is bonkers.
And the thing is, I thought he had a really shit season last year, but when you look at his average, he still averaged 96, despite it being a really crap season. So there is absolutely upside to Jack Steele, and he's still in the prime of his career at how old is he? At 28 years old. So Jack Steele could genuinely be a real shout, to be honest. If you want to look for some real value, I think he poses value.
From what I've heard from a few of the guys, especially on George's Discord, so shout out to them, but it does feel like Brad Crouch when he came in, I believe 2022 is when that happened, and then Steele started to lose a little bit of his scoring, has lost a few more of his tackles and a few more potential CBAs, or if not CBAs being the focus of the CBAs, because there's obviously a bit of a different, right? Kind of the guy who gets the ball versus the other way. So it's something to watch a little bit there. But as you say, Joe, he had some shocking games, and then he had some monster games as well. So against the Blues at 57, against the Tigers in 81, against the Tigers as well, round 14 of 52, and then a 62 as well. So, and then round 6 coming off a 54. Maybe these were injuries. Maybe they were just crappy games, or he got nullified. But if those were 20 points each, higher, his average is going to be a lot better. So potentially could be that steal, as you say.
Exactly. So keeping an eye on him. Sam Philandra will outscore Dusty big time. That I agree, on and off the field. You guys should put a mate. Keep a close eye on all the content we're pumping out, mate. We're doing all we can to help people do their research.
You know what we're doing this year, Jesse? We're actually running a pretty exclusive, well, not exclusive, but intensive beginner series that we're going to be starting up soon as well. So taking you from basically beginner to, intermediate into professional type player, but everything you need to know. You want concerned about defenders, watch this video. How do I pick my team? Watch this video. What's a Supercoach loop? Pick this, watch this video, that kind of thing. So keep an eye out for those.
Yeah, exactly. What was B. James saying? You guys should put a banner above Jay's head saying "smash the thumbs" to remind us viewers. Just an idea. Oh, maybe you read that comment and then implemented it. Sorry, this comment came over 20 minutes ago. Max, why is no one taking Dunkley? He said he was feeling injured a lot last year. Still averaged tons. Now he feels perfect, but it's a toss-up, him or Dawson for me.
It feels like for me, like, I'm not sure if Joe will say the same thing, but it really feels like for me, there were some games that Dunkley really got hurt last year with Ashcroft not being in the side, especially towards the second half of the season. And that Brisbane midfield really is going to change without him in that team. They're going to shake things up. Maybe McCluggage or Neil comes in and starts taking a bit more of the role. Big watch and see, but also the early buy rounds as well. A lot of people aren't picking him because the strategy at the moment just isn't to pick him and then trade him off. That kind of notion might change a little bit as the preseason comes along, and there might be a few more Dunkley teams, right? But from a guy who was a perennial must-have every single year because he was forward eligible, it's now kind of changed a little bit. Yeah, it's bonkers. He's got some bloody fantastic scoring, right? But yeah, it's a bit of a tough one.
Averaged 121 in 16 games before the Ashcroft injury, okay? 121 versus 97.
So at the moment, we're kind of going off that 97 because there's no Ashcroft. So things will change, whatever, but it's going to change his role a little bit, not having that player in the team.
Yeah, it's a big difference. I thought Ashcroft was a really integral part of that Brisbane Lion midfield, and we would have thought maybe it went that Josh Dunkley would do better, especially with some more CBAs after Ashcroft went out. But his CBA sort of, I feel like on average, his CBAs did go up compared to the beginning, but it didn't translate into a lot of great scoring. So, plus, as you mentioned, he's got a terrible first buy. So, in round 2, where he doesn't get a price rise, he only plays round 1, doesn't play round 2, and doesn't get a price rise. So that's a tricky one. It's a very tricky one. So I think they have the worst buy structure, to be honest. And that's why we're not talking about him, Max. Thoughts on Nathan Kruger R3? Yep, we definitely just spoke about him. Grundy was like 77% owned earlier today. I think that will only continue to increase, Causa, as we get closer to the start of the season.
Yeah, I think so as well. He's going to play those preseason games and just be like,
the conspiracy theory thing. Does that mean if I dress my dead grandma up in a jersey, I could get her a spot on the Melbourne list? I think that is more likely than Smith moving to the Pies. Oh my God.
You know, we'll see what happens, but
there's a call right there from Happy Face.
I don't advocate doing stuff to your dead grandma. I'm sorry, mate.
Oh, that's hilarious. Jonas 42 watching, 6 likes, 36 knobs. Oh, it's all right, Jonas. It's okay.
Smash that like button, guys.
We've put him to sleep, mate. Steve, can we see your watch list for preseason / opening round? What the players that we got our eyes on in the preseason, or
I think he's more meaning guys in that round 0 who we're going to keep an eye on. It's a fantastic idea for a video, and I think that's something that we can definitely do. Where's that comment?
Steve, do you think Gawn Grundy will hold all year, or will we be looking to palm off Grundy, most likely someone like English? And if so, what would be an ideal round with price drops increase? I think that depends a lot on whether or not it's what we see actually happens from what we've heard of in the reports, being that English is going to have his ruck time shared with Rory Lobb. If that's going to be the case, then English for his price point is well and truly overs. And I think English will drop in price quite a bit, especially if he's not even doing full training at the moment. I imagine he'll be ready to go come round 1. But if the ruck is going to be shared, I'm in no rush to get him in, to be honest, at that point.
Who knows, man? We saw English take kick-ins last year. So, you know, he could be the multifaceted, does everything type role. It really depends. A lot of people aren't picking Bond because at 700K, you know he's going to drop in cash. A lot of people aren't picking English because, hey, at that price, he might drop a bit of money as well. So if we have a look at the buy rounds, if English works out to be a good keeper, but you're kind of buy round heavy, you could definitely go a Max Gawn down So Max Gawn up to an English in round 6. Like that just straight up could happen. And then you get an extra primo over everyone else that round. I think round 6 is a pretty fair time when English will start to plateau in price, because obviously if he has a crappy couple of games, it's going to shoot down really quick. Round 6, round 7 is where the plateau generally happens. So that's where like we get our first set of upgrades, because we know that, hey, look, the guys that were more expensive are now going to be cheaper. That's kind of when it starts to happen. So come round 6, English could be just under just under 600k or around 600k. Sideways and Max Gawn too, if you're happy for the rest of the season. He is the better profile, age profile, consistent scoring from last year. So it could happen at that time, as Joe says, but it really just depends on who you think are going to be keepers. Because after round 6, English and Gawn both have the same amount of buys. So if you can weather the storm at that point, then we'll see how it happens.
I'm not even gonna. Yeah, great follow-up, crap Ruckman. That's what I'll read. Thanks, Jonas, for that very good statistic there. All right, what we got here? What else we got here? 40. Duggan will take one of either Hearn or Shui rolls.
Or maybe Jesse. If you're still in the chat, if you're still watching the stream, let us know in the comments who is looking like they're going to come and take Hearn's kick-in rolls and who's going to step up in that role. Is Duggan going to do it? Is Witherden going to do it? Is Burgle going to do it? Let us know in the comments and we'll put it up on the stream. Because obviously, like Joe and I have talked about it before, right? But people know their teams, right? I know North Melbourne. Joe knows Essendon. If you know about West Coast, mate, we're all ears.
Exactly. Freddie, how's it going, mate? 40 trades. You have to be joking.
Yeah. It's an interesting one. It's definitely divided the community a little bit. And if you've seen my video from yesterday, you can kind of feel my at least thoughts on the situation. But it is what it is. It's happened. I don't think we're going to not play Supercoach because of 40 trades. Because your Supercoach, your football season's going to get more boring than what it is at the moment. So, yeah, kind of just have to deal with it and move on a little bit.
Yeah. Supercoach with Dirty Rides, stock market video is a great. Absolutely, Jonas. That's why we shouted him out. Is an absolute start. And if you haven't watched his Bont video, that was also an absolute masterpiece. So head on over to DR, Supercoach with DR, and chuck him a sub. You guys were talking about mid prices. Ginny and Waller will be very dominant, I hope, and score well. Then will be nice options to upgrade with one rookie rather than using a booster upgrade. Look, the problem I think with the Warlord is the historical soft tissue injuries that he has, been suffering from already at this young age, which I think is the biggest thing why he might not make as much money and perform as well as he certainly is capable of. Signing someone at that price. Go for it.
We saw a couple of years ago how good Matt Rao was, at least in the first couple of rounds. Came out, popped a couple of big numbers, did go bang. I do agree with what Joe says, though. Like, the hammies and just the injury concern are a big no. Like, I'm happy with spending trades early, but maybe not at the expense of other things, really.
Yeah, like if it was a collision injury, which is really just a bit of bad luck, then that it is what it is. That's just an accident. But if it's repeated soft tissue injuries, then it just not everyone. Different bodies just are built different and have different susceptibility, I suppose, and predisposition. So I'm a little bit I'm sort of trying to be a little bit weary. I know we have 40 trades, but at the same time, I don't think that means you just have carte blanche to take all risk and pick every single injury, risky player in the competition.
You could go bang and then get up to 560k or 600 or 800k and be the best player in the AFL. And that could happen too. Yeah. So
could very well be. Absolutely. Sinclair, after his buy, has a great Marvel run. Absolutely, Causa. Absolutely. Got to leave a spot for Sinclair in your back line for that.
Yeah, I think so too.
Flag Pies, which Ruckman and midfielder duo should I start with? Rowan Marshall and Andy Brayshaw, or Max Gawn and Christian Petrarca?
I would personally, obviously, you're dodging a lot of the early buys if you go Marshall and Brayshaw. But I don't know. I think Petrarca and Max Gawn could end up scoring more over that time. So it's more about having the guys who can actually cover the position while you're waiting for the buys.
Yeah, exactly. I actually agree with that. 80+% CBAs. He went over 105 for steal. So that's good. Absolutely, there's a chance.
But 105 isn't a keeper. That's the issue. Like, if he goes 105, we need him to score better than what he is, because 105 probably puts him at like 580k. So cool. We've now got steal at 580k. Like, we want him to get to 600 plus.
Correct. Rowan Marshmallow goes down injured this year for sure. Oh, I don't want to predict that, Jodis. I don't want to predict that. I don't like that. Dunkley has round 2 and round 12 buys are hard to start. Correct. Thoughts on Big Peter Wright this year, mate? I love me some 2-meter Peter, right? I don't think I need to convince you about that. But the thing is, I don't like key forwards. Now, if we were playing against North Melbourne and West Coast in the first 2 weeks, teams that have weak defense every week, then maybe. But I'm not entirely sure I want to start a $369,000 key forward. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna say it as it is. $369,000 for a key forward is no good. If though, now this might be a bit of a spicy call, and I swear to you, I did not smoke pot. I'm only drinking water. All right, it's not beer. It's nothing exotic.
Spicy,
not this spicy water. But there is a key forward that is very interesting.
Who's the key forward, Joe? Don't leave us hanging.
Jesse Hogan, mate. He's playing North Melbourne round 1. They've got no back line.
Jesse Hogan.
Jesse Hogan could kick 10 goals in round 1 against North Melbourne and all of a sudden become a must-have pick, mate. It's going to be Jesse Hogan. And as I say that, I freaking love it because you've got Causa right there in the comments went with me. He knew exactly where I was going, mate. Big Jesse Hogan.
Last year, we definitely... let's go back a couple of years where Tex Walker played a lot of the weak teams early. He went bananas, right? Last year, there were some people who did pick Curnow up at certain times because he was going so good. It's going to be an interesting one to see what happens this year if the meta changes, especially with the key forwards too. Cool. Who's going to play North Melbourne and West Coast and maybe someone else early? Who's playing them this week? Can I get some quick points out of that? Because we know teams that have good key forwards are going to dominate against those sides. So does the meta change to this? It's something to watch out for. Jesse Hogan could go big. Curnow could go big. I feel these other players could go quite big. So, yeah, kind of just depends on if that kind of changes. If I get an extra 100 points over you, I can carry that the whole season.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. This might be it's a spicy selection. I don't know if you have the cojones to do it, but if you do and it works out for you, then you're freaking laughing. But you do get a free look at him in round 0. So, if you like his form come round 0, you like the Giants' form in round 0, they perform really well against the Pies, and you think, oh boy, North Melbourne are going to get absolutely destroyed out of this world, and Jesse Hogan's going to be a big part of it, then could very well be a good selection. Another good key forward, as Max says, could be Tom Lynch. If he's right to go for his price point, he's not expensive. You're not breaking the bank for Tom Lynch at 287k. He's got a history. He's done it before. Let's have a look at him. Big Tom Lynch.
I don't know if you've seen this, Joe, but apparently there might be some boxing matches during Gather Round this year.
I don't want that, Tom Lynch. Yeah. Wait, boxing?
Yeah,
matches?
Boxing matches. Tom Brown's posted on Twitter. I'm not sure if it's the real Tom Brown or the fake Tom Brown or whatever, but seems to be a bit of a theme at the moment. On April 3rd, this is what the tweet says at least, there'll be 4 boxing bouts in Adelaide on Gather Round. Kane Corns versus Nathan Brown, Dane Swan versus Dale Thomas. I don't think this is true, but I've just been swindled. It's pretty funny. Bontempelli versus Cooper Gretsch, and then Mitch Robinson versus Studi.
Bont versus Cooper? Oh my God.
Yeah, done.
I'd pay for that. I'd pay for that. Freddie, Ashcroft lock for 2025 if he gets the discount. Yes, big call. I like it, Fred. That's a good one. But Supercoach for 2024 has barely been open for a day.
Yep.
And you're talking 2025. I love it, Freddie. I love it. Kyle, thoughts on Dylan Moore with the addition of Ginnivan Watson should push higher up the ground, back to back 90 plus average the past 2 years, only 24.
From what I've seen and spoken to Daz Talks Footy, obviously we'll touch again on he knows Hawthorn, I know North, Joe knows Essendon, whatever. He seems to think that Dylan Moore is probably still set for that high half forward role, and he might not get any more CBAs than what he's getting. So if we run that off last year and then the year before, he probably isn't going to get a huge amount more CBAs. There are a few younger players who look to be playing through that role, and it's something to watch over the preseason, right? And watch during the preseason game. But from my knowledge, what I'm going off at the moment, he isn't going to get more time, which means, funnily enough, Dylan Moore is not going to get more scoring or around the mark. And I don't think a 95 is going to be a keeper score, especially at that price, because I think the DPPs are going to come in and we're going to get spicy players. So.
I will have a look at him. I'll have a look at him. If he's going to play higher up the ground, could be interesting, but they're batting pretty deep in the midfield now these days, the Hawks. Yep. They're a very strong team. He might just end up playing high half forward, similar to Flanders. And we saw Flanders, how well Flanders did. So I don't know. I'm not discounting it as a pick personally, but I'll have to look into it more, and I'll have to back the opinions of other knowledgeable Hawks people, as Big J just mentioned there. Steve, who would you say is the top scoring premium in defense? I have Sicily, but now worried about Amon affecting him. I would go to Stewart, but not sure how he will go in midfield. I think
could be Luke Ryan.
Could be Luke Ryan.
Could be Luke Ryan.
No Cox.
That'd be a sneaky shout.
Yeah, no Cox, no Young. Eating into him in the back line. It's going to be all his. Stewart.
Sicily's my pick as well, but we keep hearing about Luke Ryan and this Freo back line. Bit of a shout.
But you also can't discount. Look, to be honest, probably the most logical option would be Nick Daicos. I think Nick Daicos would probably be the number one defender by the end of the season. And he could very well also have a Brownlow medal around his neck. So I think Daicos is D1. I think Sicily's D2, Ryan D3, Stewart D4, Sinclair D5, and then D6 could be a Houston, could be, maybe Carl Amon, Nick Martin fighting it out there as well. Maybe even Nazaya, depending on what the sort of setup is like over there at the Saints. But yeah, though that's off the top of my head. That's my guess. Oh, Hayden Young, of course. Hayden Young's above all those other options that I mentioned there at the end. Sarong or Brayshaw, asks Max Bingers.
It's an interesting one. I think Sarong plays a little bit more wing than what Brayshaw does, and Brayshaw had some injury-affected games last year. I know for the price, a lot more people are picking Brayshaw because 620K is a lot more expensive than 600K, even though it is 20K. It just makes it a lot easier to fit players in. So potentially there's that. But yeah, a lot more people picking Brayshaw off the bat.
Yeah, I think just on a very superficial level, just on a quick look, because obviously we've got Hayden Young in the midfield now. Yep. So it's going to be a different looking midfield compared to last year. And I sort of want to see who was affected more with Hayden Young in the team. Now, Hayden Young became a midfielder in round 20. So from round 20 to 24, in the last 4 games, Brayshaw averaged 122. So he didn't care about that. Yep. And then in the last 4, 113. Okay, so I know this is very surface level. I'm going to have to look into it a little bit more. But just in those 5 games compared to the 5 games that Brayshaw played, I know 122 is more favorable than a 113 and for cheaper. So on that basis, very quick one, I like Brayshaw a little bit more.
Yeah, I think so too.
Any update on Eric Hipwood waiting for a heart transplant? Unfortunately, they don't have any hearts. No sheep was willing to give their heart, Jonas. So unfortunately, he's going to be stuck there. Uh, Freddie, Cherry R1, lock him in the side right now.
Yeah, I don't think so. To be honest, I don't even know if he's going to be R1 at North Melbourne. So he does okay in the ruck line, but can't basically do anything else. So if they want someone who's more fluid, if that kind of thing's kind of where they're going, that yeah, he might end up having to share a bit of ruck time with someone else. So big watch and see over the preseason. Cherry's basically obviously we don't really have anyone else, so it's a bit of a stickler, but Cherry can't mark. He's basically a tap ruckman, and that's it. And in terms of North Melbourne, like we really need that. It's a bit of a tricky one.
John Hines, how's it going, John? Please be normal. Nope. Love it. Which popular player you guys are avoiding this season?
Well, let's go over. Like I'm going to pick midfield, right? Can we pick ownership at the moment? Who am I avoiding? Let's say in the ownership at the moment, popular player. I think there's a bit of Matt Crouch, but I don't think that's filtered in as much yet. Popular player, Joe. I'm going to get stumped.
Oh, it doesn't
Maybe
say.
like a Taylor Adams. For me, I'm going to say Taylor Adams. He's 13% owned at the moment. I think as the season goes on, he might be a bit more owned. He could turn out fantastic, right? But I know there's been some injury concerns there, and he's a really awkward price. Like in my forward line, I want keepers that I don't have to worry about, and I want mid prices to make me 150k plus. I don't think Taylor Adams is that player, and I think that's why I'm not going to pick him. Who's your player, Joe?
A popular player.
Because now we can search by percentage ownership.
Can you show me how to do that?
Yeah, just press trade on your player. So just hypothetically get rid of someone. Yep. And then on the side, you can just go ownership percentage because you've got Supercoach Plus. No, it's just there on the screen. Go back. It's there.
Oh, here we go. Right. Okay. True. Thank you very much. There you go. For those that didn't know how to do it, there you go. That's how you do it. Who am I fading this year? Okay, so I'm not going to fade Daicos all season long.
No.
I might fade McRae. I'm still not sold on McRae. I might just fade McRae for this season. Crazy, I know. Speechless. Josh, how's it going, Josh? Rucks, Marshall Grundy. Marshall's a fair shout. I reckon Marshall ends up being a top, could even be R1 if the news is substantiated that English is sharing the ruck with Rory Lobb, because we saw in the last game of the season last year when that happened, he barely cracked the ton. So if Lobb and if it's Lobb season, then English could be no good. And I reckon Marshall ends up being R1 for the season if he can stay fit and healthy, of course. So I'm not against it. Not against the Marshall Grundy. If you're not a big fan of Maxi Gorn, then you can do that, I think. Because they don't share a buy either, which is good.
Yep. Yeah. Rowan Marshall, man. He's such an up and down. Like, the Saints are good, he does good. The Saints are horrible, he does horrible. Is he going to share ruck time with a Hayes or a Tom Campbell? Or heck, even Machito Owens like he did early parts last year.
Right.
I don't think that the only problem with Marshall for me is that it's like paying 110, like it's paying 600k for 110, point scoring player. You know what you're going to get, right? There's no real advantage or disadvantage in there. We picked Gorn because we think, hey, he's going to go back to 120 plus, and we're getting him at 580k. Marshall, I think, is probably appropriately priced around his price mark, which is partly why I'm not so keen to pick him.
Sure. No worries. Bryce asking, who's your North player to watch?
I was waiting for this comment. It's an interesting one, right? Because I think everyone's going to go your McKercher and things like that early. Biggie Nguyen is one that I'm definitely having a look at because there really is a spot for him in that team as one of those defenders. Has been doing very, very well in the preseason. He's very, very vocal as well and kind of ends up being that guy around the field that's going and telling people where to go, basically. And a player like that for a young team, I think North Melbourne now are officially the youngest team in the AFL. So a player like that for a young team is definitely someone to look out for. At 123k as a forward selection, like you can't go wrong really if he's going to play 22 games. McKercher's obviously in there. I don't know if there's so many like players outside of an LDU in the back line. Maybe like a Sheasel as well. So yeah, we've got quite a few rookie options who I think are going to be very good. And there's some teams at the moment, people are complaining, hey, look, I've got 5 North Melbourne players in my team because Pink look like he's going to play. Ewin potentially looks like he's going to play. You've got McKercher, Sheasel, like Wardlaw. Like there's 5, right? So yeah, just something to kind of keep an eye out for. But he's my sneaky pick.
Thank you. Oh, ahlan wa sahlan. Hectic Lebo. Do you reckon rocking Brayshaw and Sarong in the same midfield is a good call? I'm not against it. They both got great buys. You're sort of handcuffing yourself to make sure that you get the midfielder that pops off. They've shown side by side that they're capable of scoring well. I mean, the last 4 games are 113 and a 122 for Brayshaw. So even with Hayden Young in the team, all 3 of them have managed to coexist on the CBA fronts and get the points. So look, it's definitely doable, but the question then becomes: do you think that both Brayshaw and Sarong are going to be top 8 mids? You definitely don't want to. You don't want to be spending 621,000 for Sarong if you don't think he's going to be challenging like a Tom. Because literally right next to him is Tom Green for essentially the same price. Obviously, the buy is not quite as good, but you would imagine that based on Tom Green's style of play and the team he plays for, you reckon Tom Green's probably going to be a top 8 mid, with the upside and another preseason into him. If you reckon Sarong can match him, then absolutely, why not? You can have both of them. I don't see a problem with that.
Yeah, it really comes down to, as you say, Joe, if you think they're going to be 2 keepers, that's 2 premiums you can have for basically the whole season. Like, the only issue I have is that, I'll say it again, I think Freo potentially could fall off a little bit, and that means that there may be not as much scoring going throughout that team.
Yeah. Jesse Hogan for Dry. Yep, I mentioned that. Pink Toby is better than an overpaid stud Ben McKay.
Potentially.
Jonas, we will see. I will get in the ring with the dud.
Recycled North Melbourne players, so
get around us. Who will be your starting rookie in the ruck? I have Conway, but who are the others that could start round 1? Kruger could start round 1. Finbar, perhaps, could start maybe round 1. Jordan Sweet.
Jordan Sweet's one as well.
Yeah, Conway, as you mentioned there. I think those are the only ones. Maybe a Naismith, perhaps. Max Heath for St Kilda has been training really well in the forward line, so you wouldn't really. He is a forward ruck in Supercoach, so you could pick him, but don't anticipate great scoring because I think he'll be playing more forward than ruck. But he is a playing R3.
I did talk before about what we were saying about, make sure you've got so many players on your bench and your midfield and your forward line defense in terms of rookies. I think if you pick someone like a Conway and just say, cool, whoever ends up playing, I can now sideways and bank some cash if I, potentially if I can. Just pick Conway, make the rest of your team, and then adapt as you need to go. I think that's a pretty safe bet. I don't know if there's going to be anyone who's more expensive, potentially a Ned Moyle. But everyone else is cheaper, so you get that benefit there.
Yeah. Screw it, you've convinced me for Hogan. Max, if it doesn't work, please don't kill me. Don't find me, all right? I promise.
I am very partial to Curnow as well. I think he's going to have a good season. So you'll get your ups and downs, but he'll have weeks where he scores like 24 goals and, you're going to get 200 Supercoach. So we'll see.
Why no Brennan Cox, Max? This is why. 2 hours ago, reported by Nathan Schmook, Brennan Cox will be on a modified program for at least 4 weeks after scans reveal a stress reaction in his leg. So no Brennan Cox for at least 4 weeks, which means that obviously this is a really crucial part of the preseason now here in January, and he's going to miss a month. So he's missing the last week of Jan and probably all of Feb as well. And that's when the preseason practice games are. And if he's not participating there, he's not going to have the match fitness to play in round 0 and round 1, or round 1 in this case, because Freo plays round 1. So that's why no Brendan Cox is going to have a delayed preseason. He's going to come back eventually, and when he does, that might start to affect Ryan. But by that point in time, he would have priced everybody out of him, I think.
Yep. Yeah. So it's just kind of an idea to see what's happening at the moment.
Yes, correct.
That at the moment.
Any fools starting mid-5 crisis?
I've seen a lot of them. I've seen a lot. And it's a really interesting thing because obviously we know he doesn't need to play every week. But if we get six weeks out of Nat 5, playing majority midfield, we only need that 150K to 200K. It could happen. That's it. So, yeah, it's going to tempt a lot of people if he has a good preseason. Tell you what.
And did you see, I don't know if I can find it right here on the fly, but mates, did you see him take that one-handed mark, Jonas?
I don't know if we're going to get flags for copyright. That's the only thing.
That's Crafty Cooper. I want the one-handed mark. Where's the one-handed mark? Is this the one?
Just
here it is. Here it is. Keep looking. There's no sound. There's no nothing. It's just Twitter. We're allowed.
Done. He does that 18 times in a game, we're set. So don't need to worry about it.
Oh, Nat 5, get around him, mate. That's your 2-time Brownlow medalist. Put him down for number 3 this year. No, I'm just joking. That's too far. But there's hope. There's hope for 5, mate. Don't worry. Who are you setting as captain for the first few rounds? Will you look at getting a loophole rookie this season? No loophole. No to loopholes. Where's my camera? There. No loopholes.
It's definitely something that we're interested in. But who would you pick, Joe? It's an interesting one. If you don't have a Nick Daicos early, I think it's going to hurt. If you don't have a Bonch or a Petrarca or someone else to play early, it's going to hurt because these are one of the ones who have been that mainstay player for us for so long. Maybe we just go in there and pick like a Max Gawn and just say, cool, we're just going to go Max Gawn or Grundy for the first 5 or 6 weeks. So, yeah, it's gonna be an interesting one. Because it's best 18, you really don't need captain loophole because at the very least you should be having a rookie on your team that misses that week. I think the only one who's a rookie who we're not going to miss, I mean, Joe's got Jake Rogers there, but I think is that Gold Coast GWS week is going to be a tough one. But you can always start a Cadman in the forward line. Just as cool. At least I've got a captain loophole for this week and I don't need to worry too much. Because I know some people are saying, cool, if we've got Flanders or Max Gawn or Green, we can trade them in and out, which is fine. But, you know, we obviously don't do that with rookies. So, yeah. The first, 6 weeks, we've got four loopholes already. Playing R3 is the way to go, I think. No, we did that already.
I know.
There you go.
I am full number 1 right here. Sorry, Jordan. Causa. For me, Miller and Steele fades and maybe Walsh. Okay, big calls. I thought, Joe, you weren't going anyone over 30. Look, I know. I said it last year, but Gawn just presents too much value at 583K. Bloody hell. I know I might be going against my principles here, but Ruckman have different timelines for their careers. That's my one out. Ruckman have a different timeline. So he's 32, but he's basically 30 with the way Ruckman lives work.
And he's not sharing Ruck really with anyone else this year. So unless he gets injured, he should play 22, and then that's all we need.
Exactly.
Well, for us in Supercoach is what? 20, I don't know, it's 22. It's not 23. So
yeah. Freddie, how's it going, mate? Thanks for coming on. I sort of described it before, early in the episode, but just very briefly, Buderick has said that he's going to be playing the Jaden Short role. Dimmer Hardwick has put him for the Jaden Short half-back role, which I think at 300K is bloody good value. I think so too. That's basically what it is. Causa says his North player to watch is Lazaro
Yeah.
or even Fimber.
Yeah, Lazaro is one of those guys. I think he's up for contract this year. Has done quite well. I don't know if Joe can pull up his stats from round 23 when we beat Gold Coast. But yeah, has been playing really well in the preseason. It's always been a player that there's not a set role for him, which is the tough bit. But if he does find a spot, he's going to be fantastic. And I'm hoping that we're not going to go in there and try and trade him off to someone else. But yeah, as a rookie, what did he have? 26 touches, 85% disposal efficiency, 8 tackles. Like it's not a terrible score.
No.
It's just about him actually having a spot in the team, which is the big thing.
Correct. Steve, as an Essendon supporter, are you looking at swapping Ridley into your team in the opening rounds if he goes well? How confident are you that he will go well? I reckon he'll do well. There's no doubt. I think he's too good of a player to not do well. The only question is, will he do well enough to be top of the line compared to the other players? And Ridley's one that I won't have any issues trading him in if I get any injuries during the course of the season. There's no one else that I like in particular. I think he's a fairly safe player, but one that you can avoid starting because he's not going to hurt you if you don't start him, I don't think. So I'm confident that he will be pushing around the top 8 to 10 brackets. If he's allowed to do that real roaming intercept defense work, which I'm sure he will, especially in the positive matchups where we might have Zach Reed taking a number 2 defender, and then Ridley can play that intercepting third, then I can see Ridley going absolutely bananas in those games. But he has said in an interview that there will be some games where he has to play defensive lockdown. And in those games, he might only score you 70 to 80 odd. So there will be inconsistency in the scoring. The highs, the ceiling will be very high, but the floor might be around the 80-point mark. And I think for a top of the line defender, might not. I think that will happen too many times for it to be worthwhile. And so he will never be out of your price point. So that's why you don't have to start him. You can always trade him in later, I think.
Yeah, I think it's a little bit like our comments Joe and I have said off air about Jack Sinclair as well. He probably will never be out of the range of being able to afford him, and potentially you can get him a little bit cheaper, especially with his rate of not playing that well outside of Marvel. So
yeah, exactly. Richard, welcome aboard. Richard, Paddy Dow could be a good cash cow in the Saints mid.
It's an interesting one, right? Because we'll go back to something we said earlier about us just not picking any midfielders who are kind of that cheaper mid-pricer, right? Because it's really like 5 or 6 premiums and then a McKercher and a Sanders to kind of finish off our midfield. So if the trend was to kind of go for that a little bit, I can see where you're coming from. But from what I'm hearing at the moment, Paddy Dow hasn't really been that good in the preseason at the moment anyway. So he's really got to go and step up before he even gets a look in. Like I'd probably pick Sheldrick over Paddy Dow at the moment for a similar price. If I was forced to pick someone because I couldn't afford a premium. That's the way it goes.
Yeah. Look, when he's given decent CBA percentage and he's not used as a sub,
I don't doubt.
84.4. It's not bad. It's not a bad average. 84.4 over 5 games. However, how much does Paddy Dow cost?
Like 310, 301.
Yeah, I would want more than that because I'm paying less. I'm paying less for Buderick, who I want to do 90. If Buderick isn't doing 90, then I'm not picking him. So Paddy Dow
being a bit cheaper as well, I think.
Exactly. Like I think there's more reliability coming out of Sheldrick when he's given the game time. Like you compare Paddy Dow, like when he's given the game time, 84.4, but then you look at Angus Sheldrick and his points per minute is just insane. Like his value, he doesn't even need that many CBAs, like 44, 34, 46, 41%. Like, he's not even demanding a lot. This one he had 54% time on ground and he had 53. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like he played half a game. He was on track for another 100 here. So I love Sheldrick. Sheldrick's a gun. If you're gonna pick between Sheldrick or Dow, no, it's definitely Sheldrick. Flag buys, lots of mid prices in the forward line who I am considering. Mm-hmm. What are your opinions on Lynch, Jordan, Harms, Billings, Georgiades, Hayes? All of the opinions. There will be videos done on all of these players. Don't you worry about it. We'll just eat into the evening if we go into depth on all of them, to be honest. That's a lot of players there.
What I would say, flag buys, is look for guys who are playing roles outside of the forward line. Guys who are dominating in the preseason, things like that. Tom Lynch is a little bit different because we know how big good key forwards can go, and that was Tex Walker a couple of years ago, basically jumping 200K in 4 weeks. If they're forward eligible in Supercoach, if they're playing mid or a mid type role, fantastic. If they're getting talked about a lot in the preseason, fantastic. If they're going to be doing forward and then rucking, fantastic, because we know just general forwards don't score that much for us, and we want that quick money. We want them to score better than their price point.
Yeah. James Jordan is a great player, no denying his talent. Question is, what's his role? How does he fit in Sydney? Yeah. They have a very stacked midfield. Close watch in practice games and round 0. James Harms, I think is... Again, it's a bit up in the air what sort of role he's going to play. I think he's going to play half forward, but we're going to one that we have to keep a close eye on over the preseason. But he plays for Bevo, so who knows what sort of role he's going to play. Billings, I think, is a safe best 22 option. I like Billings. I think he's one that is a safe option, underpriced because of his discount, can certainly outperform where he's priced at, and he's one of those. He's a very, very fine flip trade out at his buy. Mitch Georgiades plays for Port. They have a good buy, but he's a key, and I don't know how well he's going to develop. I think Finlayson could have a good season, could have a bounce back season this year. How does it look like with Dixon having a full preseason as well? That's a question mark. Jack Hayes is one that I really love. I'll never forget that incredible debut against Collingwood that he had. It's seared into my brain, knowing what he's capable of. I just haven't heard and read enough about him in the preseason to show that he's tearing up burning down the track. And if you're not burning down the track, then I'm not selecting you as a mid-pricer, because mid-prices, there's a tag called mid-price madness, and it's mad because it's very easy to fail. Most mid-prices don't work. If you're going to pick a mid-pricer, you got to make sure that they're actually worthy of selection and that you're confident in them. It's not just about potential. Potential can only take you so far. You need genuine reasons to believe that they will take a next step.
Yeah. Because Supercoach every year, there's always opportunities to make money and lose money. We know there's players who fall out of premium status and the ones that go up. So the big trick is, and that's why we pick guns and rookies, right? We don't just go mid prices for the whole year. Because when we start with 10 million, we really need to get to that 13.5 to 14 million price range.
Correct.
We're looking for that quick money if we can.
G money. Anyone else starting Tom Green because he has Northern Eagles and swap him on his buy thanks to 40 trades? I think a lot of people do that. We spoke about it
earlier, right? Where Tom Green actually had poor games against both of those last year. So
not this year, he won't.
I hope not. But
not this year. Jonas, Jesse Hogan is a member of an exclusive club, AFL Peanuts, who have crashed into multiple parked cars.
Oh, mate, it probably happens a lot more than it's reported, to be fair. So, yeah.
Luke Ryan is a lock without Brendan Cox. You heard it here, guys. Freddie said it. Luke Ryan's a lock without Brendan Cox. Joe Sandon's so sad we're doing the Cam Guthrie press spotlight. It's a no-go. Thank you, Freddie. You picked up on it. I tried to make it.
Don't tell Shaq. I won't be happy about it.
I tried to make it clear. Cheers, Freddie. I was very sad to talk about Cam Guthrie. I wasn't going to, but people kept asking me, Cam Guthrie. No, not Cam Guthrie. 19%. There you go, Jonas. There are 19% of the competition are fools, apparently.
It will start to fall off as preseason goes, and then if he does really well in the preseason, it will go up and down. So, yeah,
correct.
But right now, I think it's just like flavor of the month.
Mate, that one-handed grab was bellissimo.
I know. LDU is going to break a tackle, and everyone's going to pick LDU. So,
mate,
is what it
is.
Right?
I already got LDU. Don't worry. I'm starting a hospital ward in this team.
There you go.
Fighters round 1 versus Eagles is good. Yes, good call. Good call, Causa. Green versus North, lock in the C. Maybe VC. Maybe VC, G-Money. 5 is life. There you go. Another one. Yes, on you, Kyle. G-Money. Is McRae in the forward a must? Was toying with fading him for another big midfielder. I don't think he's a must.
Well, we did a video on him and basically said you had to pick him if he's going to be taking his midfield. So I don't know if we can really go backwards on that.
I said you might as well. As well, but
it's going to be a shame. It's going to be a shame if you could have had the chance to pick up McRae at potentially 50 or 60K more expensive. Sorry, 50 or 60K cheaper than him being more expensive later on. Because he's only priced at 99 at the moment. And if he goes midfield, he could end up being like a 110 again, and then you're having to pay up. The interesting thing is that he is forward eligible. So if you can lock in as many forward spots with keepers, then it's really going to help. And not having an early buy helps a lot as well. So it's one to watch. Watch the role, but at his price, getting someone at his price, kind of knowing his scoring potential, it's a tough one. There's going to be a mix of McRae haves and McRae haves nots.
Yeah, but if you can use the money, that money, 558, who's an equivalent midfielder?
Yeah, like a Walsh or a Tuke Miller, right? But you've already got those spots filled in your team. So, like in your team, where does a Walsh or McRae fit? So, where does a Walsh or a Tuke Miller fit in your team? It doesn't, right? So,
I haven't got them only because I want. Why would I put them in my team now when I'm going to be able to have free looks at them in round 0 and then make the adjustments then? Like, there's no point in me having them here now. At this point in time,
I think if you're gonna go and stack your midfield like Joe has, I think it's fine to pick McRae. But if you're picking McRae over a Tuke Miller or a Sam Walsh or someone else who pops up around that price, even a John Newcomb if he comes out and goes bonkers, I think then it's the time when you can start considering, hey, look, I want him or I don't want him, right? Because at the moment, it feels like there is really only 5 or 6 good rookies. And if you can limit the amount of midfield rookies you've got in your team, I think you're going to be doing okay this year, or at least the ones on field.
Awesome. Ross, impossible question. Wow, good to know, mate. Thanks for the warning. Who are the top 3 rookies, gold, silver, bronze?
For me, gold is the toss-up between McKercher and Harley Reid at the moment. The other one's taking silver. And then bronze. Who would bronze be, Joe?
Bronze rookie.
Bronze level rookie. Let me just see.
Could be Sanders, but he plays for Bevo, so you never know what's going to happen to him. Could be Marty Hoare if he has a good role.
I reckon it's going to be Jeremy Sharp. That's my pick. I reckon we're going to get 3 midfielders. The midfield are the ones that really feel like they're going to score a lot more, which means that we're going to end up getting a lot more cash out of them. I would go, hypothetically, Harley Reid off halfback, Colby McKercher off a similar position, and then a Jeremy Sharp off the wing. All 3 should have a spot in their starting team. They should play 23 games, obviously barring early buys, that kind of thing, which none of them have. And they should be, they should be able to score 70, 80 plus every week, given their roles. So they're my 3. Mana definitely is in the contention as well, but yeah, just those guys to start off with, I think.
I guess the question though becomes in terms of keepers for the year, or in terms of money they make, or in terms of speed.
Yeah, of course.
Like, because Aaron Cadman has a really soft start to the season. He's got West Coast, he's got North and West Coast in the first 2 games. And if he kicks a bag in both of like 5 goals, right? I know it's unlikely, but say for example, he kicks a bag of 5 in both those games, he misses round 2, misses round 3, comes back round 4, and he makes you 100K in like 2 weeks, right?
Yeah. But I think like we saw last year how good a Sheasel was at making money early. Harley Reid comes out in the first 3 weeks and averages like a 90, which is potentially going to happen because the ball's in the back line of West Coast every single week for 60 to 70% of game time. He could be the one that does similar scoring to a Sheasel next year, or this year. So yeah, but
I'd have Cadman ahead of Sharp in that example where Cadman goes back to back bang in round 1 and round 2. Then I'd have Cadman as a bronze over a Sharp because that means he's given me my money ASAP and I've used it to upgrade to a primo quick.
Jesse Hogan's going to kick all the goals, Joe. Haven't you heard?
They can both share. They can share goals.
They can't share goals.
They can. They can just do a goose over the top. Joe the Goose into the goal square. Yeah. Ridley says going to play. Yeah. Mention that, Freddie. Lukey, how's it going, mate? Not a problem. Luke. You're not late. You're fashionably on time. Anything on Georgiades? Nothing to sing home about, to be honest, Luke, about Mitch. Young Georgiades. I'm keeping an eye on him, but I don't like keys. I don't like key forwards in the forward line. That's outside of it. Correct. He's a rookie on the bench. I don't mind spending for a little rookie. FYI, I'm taking on Sicily, Stewart, and McRae.
Yeah, easy.
J Money, serious question. Violet Crumble or Crunchy? Oh my god.
You've not made it easy for me.
For me, I like VC. I like Violet Crumble. I don't know what it is. I like Violet Crumble.
It feels like the difference between the two is Violet Crumble has more chocolate, whereas Crunchy has more crunchy. That's the feeling I've always had between the two. Violet Crumble's always been more chocolatey than the Crunchy. So maybe I'll go Crunchy just for like one each, right?
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I haven't had Violet Crumble in so long, but yeah, I don't know. I like Violet Crumble. That's a great question though, G Money. Jeez. I like it. Let us know what you in the comments down below, or just in the live comments now. What would you go for? Yeah. Flag players. Billings is basically a lock for me. Jordan the other, who I'm most keen on, but I'll need to watch it. Yep, exactly. It's all about the role. Flag players. It's all about the role. All about what they're doing. Before we pick them. So you think that the 40 trade Supercoach wants us to sideways trade premiums in those buys in the opening 7 rounds? Will coaches who do this get too far ahead of the pack? Asks Steve. I guess I'll go first there then.
Yeah.
I don't think Supercoach is encouraging us to do anything in general. I don't think Supercoach necessarily wants us to be actively trading out our premiums early. I think Supercoach is really just trying to be as accessible as possible to as many people as possible. Giving more trades can help cover injuries and allow players, because the most fun is being able to upgrade your team and make improvements to your team and tinker away. And once you're out of trades, there becomes next to absolutely nothing that can keep you glued and coming back week upon week. Especially if you get a long-term injury and you don't have genuine cover, you basically drop the game. So there's no, as long they had to find a way to allow people to still be engaged, and trades are without a doubt the most exciting feature of the game. So I just think it means that people will be able to play for longer. I think the best players are still going to be the best players. They're not going to lose out on any advantage. If anything, it gives them more trades to play with. They know the tricks. They know what to look for. They can have controlled risk with their selections compared to a noob who might just take risks without understanding the weight of those risks. And even then, those 40 trades might not be enough. You give an experienced legend of the game 36 trades compared to a noob with 40 trades, and I can still guarantee you that it's more likely that the pro will still beat them even with less trades to work with.
Yeah, I think so as well. I think something I'll touch on a little bit of what Joe said, right? But it really does feel like that boosts. Maybe you can't see my head. That doesn't work too well. But boosts, I think, were more of an impact on Supercoach this year and last year than actually like more trades, right? Being able to change up how many things you can do in a week, that kind of thing, really, really impacted quite a lot on the game, more than just adding in more trades like we saw during the COVID rounds. I had comments, if you haven't seen already, I posted up a video yesterday, basically at midnight, which was pretty cool, of my reaction and my thoughts on the extra trades. And one of the things like someone posted in there was like, hey, I was basically out of trades last year because I ended up having 14 injury trades. Like that's on the maximum. That people would bring people in and bring people out, and then like they just get injured the next week. So if adding a few more trades can really help those people keep playing, because if one person says it in the chat, that means there's probably a couple of hundred people or a couple of thousand people, if there's 180,000 teams that are really feeling the same way. I agree with Joe. The good players are going to work out how to navigate it. The ones who are newer, maybe not so much. Some people are still going to play slow. Some people are still going to be aggressive. It's just the way the game's going, and anything that keeps the fans watching longer and longer and keeping people engaged is 100% happy with me. Like, I love Supercoach, but I know how much of a pain it was in that second half of the season after the buys. Come around 18, 19, and you've got one trade left. Like, if I had 5 or 6 more, it would have kept me engaged for a lot longer. And the same with all the fans as well there. So if that's kind of the aim, no worries. That's just kind of my thoughts. Some people think
I haven't played.
It's going to change and it's losing its soul and whatnot.
I haven't played this game long enough to have any sort of allegiance in terms of, back in the good old days, used to be this many trades. I've only played this game seriously for like a couple of years. So in terms of, my attachment to the good old days, I don't have any of those. So everything, as Abs, the Supercoach Godfather, in his video mentioned today, every sport adapts, every sport changes. There's always new rules, there's always new things. So it's Supercoach is no different. We just roll with the punches. Velo, is Sardis worth looking at? Look, Elijah Sardis, no denying his talent, very exciting player. We have a lot of high hopes for him. He's still working out his kicking. He's actually developing a whole new kicking form, kicking routine with Rath on our new development coach at the Bombers. He's definitely getting better, but there are quite a few times where he will still miss his target. Agility running is his forte. If he's going to play, I don't think he's going to get bulk CBAs. He's not going to be playing a lot of midfield time. We have a bunch of other mids. I think if Elijah Sardis is going to play, he's going to be playing more on the half-forward flank. He's going to play more half-forward, have rotations there, swap maybe with Caldwell, with Perkins, with Hobbs. We've got a lot of names to go through there. I don't think Elijah Sardis, personally, I can't see it. I know there are other Essendon supporters like JD. Head on, watch our video, our discussion, myself and JD. We went into depth about the Bombers the other night on the channel. I think he's more warm to the idea of having Elijah Sardis. Personally, I don't think for the price, I don't think you're going to get much value personally.
Like, who are you going to pick? James Jordan or Sardis, right? Who are you going to pick? Like Jack Billings or Sardis, who's never done it before? This is the questions that we have, and it's kind of, which one's going to make you lots of cash and which one you're hoping does well because you're a fan of the club.
Yeah. And I know I'm a diehard Bomber fan, as you can tell here, but I do my absolute best to be as I bleed red and black. Mostly red, but you get the picture. But I try to be as objective as possible. I know I'm a Bomber fan, but I try to take myself out of it as much as I possibly can. So appreciate the question. Cause I'm worried that the forward line is risky with Flanders at F1. Look, it looks a bit scary because the number of only one primo on this line, especially when you compare it to what we had last time around, which was we had so many more options. So having only one premium in Flanders in the forward line can be understandably scary. But we've got a bunch of mid prices, and if they all work out, now of course that's a massive if. But the ones that you select, if they work out, then it could really be you're absolutely flying because you save yourself money in not starting a McRae. If he has a bad role and he doesn't start off on fire, he could lose money. Your mid prices gain money. You could gain some DPP eligible players during the season. It would be incredible if Bont gets forward status. He has mentioned that he's playing more forward. It would be incredible if English gets forward status, if he's going to be sharing the ruck with Lob. So you never know. We could get some really interesting players in the forward line early on. So and then you could flip those mid prices to them.
My questions for Corey in that situation is, do you think that we're going to be able to get 6 premium forwards or 5 premium forwards if you think Flanders is going to be F1 or in the top 5, obviously, or top 6? If that ends up being like, do you think that you're going to be able to get 5 or 6 DPP guys that are basically going to be the top keepers in the position? Because I know in the past we've had 1 or 2 and it's been great. We might have even had 3 or 4 that have been fantastic. And maybe this year's the year where we haven't been able to start the DPPs, but your Butters and potentially LDU, Petrarca, all these guys go back to having DPP because that's just the way the team's lined up. But yeah, you've kind of got to factor that in, I think, a little bit in your thoughts and being like, cool, what's going to happen? If you think that you're going to get 5 DPPs or potentially 6 who are going to be top line players, 100%, you don't have to start McRae. But it's tough when you're not going to get that and then you're not starting McRae. So,
yep. Josh Kelly for the first 3 rounds in the side. Very possible. I like that, Freddie.
Do this. That works.
We can do this?
Yep. We can do this.
This looks so bizarre. What the hell?
All right. That's what we got.
This is better than before? Let us know. We might do this more often otherwise. But yeah, Josh Kelly on the outside could absolutely torch North Melbourne and torch West Coast. He's 100%. Very injury prone, very accident prone. So if all you need for him is to last first 3 rounds, then could very well be worth it. I like it, Freddie.
If he comes in and scores like a 120, 120, 120, like you're laughing, mate. Like you're set at that point. He makes you a bit of cash, jumps up to 600K, and then you can offload him for someone else who is coming off a buy or isn't going to be scoring as well.
See if I can maybe, I don't know, does this work? We'll sort of see how this continues to unfold. Who are all the players that are in your side that you think will get dual position at some point of the season? Are there any others worth keeping an eye on?
Well, Steve, we made a video on it, mate. We made a video a couple of weeks ago on potential DPP players. Jump on our YouTube. It's in the playlist. It's one of the videos on there. Have a look. There's quite a few guys. A lot of them are rucks. A lot of them are potentially the guys who we think all started with last year as DPPs. I think they're going to have a bit of a change and maybe keep a similar type of role. And then you got guys like your Carl Amons and your Zach Fishers who look to be playing a position that they're not available in Supercoach.
Correct. Carl Amon, Zach Fisher, Nick Martin, they all look like they're going to get defensive status. So very interesting. Thoughts on Witherden? I don't think we got a lot of great scoring without Hearn in the side to warrant the selection.
Yeah, it's not like a Hearn's in. It's not like a Petrarca Oliver situation, right? Where there's real evidence that shows when Oliver's not playing, Petrarca goes big. Joe pulled up DFS before and was basically saying, hey, in the games that Hearn didn't play, Witherden still only scored like an 80. So,
yeah. Correct. I'm not going to go find that again. Kyle, is Zach Reid a lock for best 22 with the likes of Baldwin, Laverty, and Mackay? I think Laverty is fighting very hard for a spot in the team, to be honest. I don't think Laverty's already having a tough time on Nate Caddy. Nate Caddy steamrolled him early in the preseason, and then Nate Caddy took an absolute screamer on him in a recent practice game as well. So I think Baldwin's a good player, but he just doesn't have a lot of great agility at ground level. Zach Reid, he was a higher draft pick for us. We really rate him highly. We've been really excited for him to get out on the park and play, but he's always had problems with his back, with his growth pains. He kept having back spasms as he kept growing, but now it seems that he's finally settled down. He's been absolutely doing sensational stuff in the preseason, always among our best in the defenders. Everything he's doing is in lockstep with Ben Mackay. Everything. They walk together, talk together, run together, they train together. I wouldn't be surprised if they hit the toilets together as well in the shower. They're doing everything together. So I reckon Zach Reid is definitely going to play in round 1, I'd say. Yeah. That's what I reckon.
That's what it's looking like at the
moment. No Fisher, asked Freddie. No, I don't have Fisher. I did have him before, but I know they've said that there's no significant damage to those hammies, but I'm still not very happy about the fact that he came and very soon after returning from this break, he's gone and sort of had a hammy complaint. It just shows me that he's come back underdone in order for him to suffer from a hamstring so early in the preseason. I don't really rate him that highly as a footballer in general, and the only reason why we were even entertaining him in general is because of his role at North Melbourne as a halfback player, and historically how well halfbacks have performed for North Melbourne. I understand role is really important, but the player has to be good too. And if the player is going to be suffering from potential hamstring complaints, then I don't want to pay up almost $400,000 for him. I'm going to keep a close eye on him during the preseason, see if there's any other complaints or concerns about him. If he's fine, come round 1 and his practice games he performs well, then he'll find his way back in my side.
Yep. Yeah, I think so as well. And it's a weird one as well because we look at his kind of price. A mid-pricer generally is going to score comparable or end up, making the similar amount of money if Zach Fisher's not going to be a keeper. So let's say James Jordan, Jack Billings makes $150K. We can get the same out of a Fisher if he doesn't end up being a keeper but scores okay. So why would you not try and pick up that cheaper player so you can allocate some more money in your team?
Correct. And we might just go for another 7 or 8 odd minutes to close off on 10. So. It is a weekday. We do have
2.5 hours is a decent amount of time.
Yeah, exactly. Giant Newcomb to go bang, says Luke. Well, I'm not against it, but I have to know why, and I don't want to hear you read from you because he looks bigger. I don't want more pictures of a buff Giant Newcomb. I have to know why he's going to get better numbers. Is he going to be because of more CBAs? He already was the number 1 CBA attendee at the Hawks last year. Plus, they've now got Ward, who's going to be coming in and playing in that midfield mix as well. So I don't know. I don't know about John Newcomb. There's no doubting his talent.
Yep.
But
yeah, I think so as well. There's a lot of people in the Discord who think he's going to go massive as well. So it's something to kind of keep an eye out on. Natural Progression says he's the one. I'm a big believer in each team having one player whose potential to go to that 600K plus mark. I think Jai Newcomb's the one to do it in the midfield. I don't really see anyone else doing it. And I think after Tom Mitchell's left, he potentially could be the one. So it's up to him not to have that. But Natural Progression says, hey, look, this is this year.
Sure. Thoughts on James Trezise as a rookie?
I think we covered this already.
Yeah, covered it really early. He did really well in that game he played last year, but there was no Gibkiss. Keep a close eye and see how they perform together. We already did that. Even Lob as a forward option could be nice. It could be Rory Lob season this year, but we'll have to see. We'll have to see how it works out. How did Rory Lobb do in that game last year? Let's see. I know English did really bad. Barely cracked the ton. But Rory Lobb, when he played as a predominant ruck in the last game of the season, he won 116. So, you know, there's hope, but he had 3 goals to go. He had 3 goals to his name that day. So, yeah, keep a close eye on Lobb. I personally don't think he's very viable, personally.
Yeah. I think the best thing about Lobb is that he's going to affect English's scoring and English's position, which is going to mean that potentially we could get English as DPP at some point.
Yep. Quick follow-up from G Money. Favorite type of shapes: barbecue pizza, crappy chicken, cheese and bacon. Definitely not any of those.
There's too many options.
I'm
a barbecue person. No, sorry, I'm a pizza man. Give me the pizza shapes all the time.
I was originally barbecue when I was a bit younger. Then as I got older, I think my taste buds developed and I appreciate pizza a bit more as well. So if you like barbecue, you're a kid. Grow up.
Okay.
It's definitely pizza. Okay. Pizza's the best one. Thoughts on Matty Roberts at 157K. I love him. He's great. He might be in here instead of Rogers. I don't know. I just can't. I want to have both of them. I think Matty Roberts and Rogers both make a lot of money for their respective sides and their play, but so does Sharp, and so does it might be Clark. I don't know how reliable Chris Scott is when it comes to playing these rookie price players in his team. So maybe Clark is the one that goes, and Matty Roberts comes in. I like Matty Roberts. I think having him on the bench is a very good idea. I agree with you, Flag Players. Is a good selection.
Yeah, something that I touched on a little bit earlier was just I think this is going to be one of the years that we don't have that many good midfield selections, which is why stacking the midfield seems to be the way to go. And then, yeah, you can pick up these kind of guys who are a little bit more expensive and be happy with them.
Yeah. Maltesing. Slurry just joined. Look better late than never, mate. What are you guys thinking about Finn McRae? Our thoughts on Finn McRae really just become based on what we read, really. I don't know Finn McRae as a person. I don't know anything about his personality, so I can't judge him on that front. All I can do is decide whether or not he's going to be good for me as a Supercoach player. And all of the reports are raving about him. And we've got some Collingwood supporters in the chat who have mentioned that there is a likelihood that there is a spot for him in the starting team. And therefore, based on all that, I have positive thoughts about Finn McRae now.
Yeah. At that price, I think the forward line rookies are the toughest ones. Probably a Darcy Wilson and a Manor and probably a Reed take a spot. So those 2 guys on the bench, there's some definite competition there. Maybe it's a Big and Ewan. Maybe it's a Finn McRae. Maybe it's a Cadman. There's not that many, I think, who are going to start round 1. So Finn McRae's got it. 150K, lock it in.
Papley, Pickett, or Bedford? Velo. I give you option 4.
In my team or in my actual AFL team or Supercoach? That's the question. Joe, which one would you put into the Bombers if you had to choose?
Bloody hell. This is...
I know which one I would want, but...
Why? Who would you want?
If I...
It's not Pickett. I want Bedford.
Okay, yeah. I think Bedford is the pick, but Pickett has the household name, and I think we should have picked him up instead of Tom Powell. I'm going to say that again. So, yeah, I think Pickett's the one for me. I think he kind of has a bit of that X factor power, but in terms of like pure small forward, 100% Bedford. There's so many good Melbourne players, and we'll see it with James Jordan this year, right? But so many good players who were just in the fringes of that club who didn't get a game, especially in the forward line, and they're just going to go dominate at another club. And Melbourne fans are just like, cool, why did we not keep them if we're giving them away for peanuts?
Marlon Pickett.
No, I think they're saying Keziah Pickett.
Oh, because Cozzy Pickett? Okay, well,
yeah, regardless. I think it's Cozzy Pickett.
All right. Cozzy Pickett is a thug, is all I'm going to say.
Okay.
The stuff he does on the football field to people and the way he throws himself around, it almost seems to me, and the fact that he didn't learn his lesson, he kept doing it so many times, he's just a straight out thug. I don't like watching Cozzy Pickett play. Papley, he's a good player. So I'd go Bedford 1, Papley 2, Pickett 3. It might be controversial, but I don't want a shit bloke at my team. I like personality and being a good person. She's got to look with the season, but what type of pizza? Oh, you're getting me hungry, bro. It's not good to be thinking about pizza at 10 o'clock at night. What type of pizza is my favorite pizza? Well, growing up, always loved myself a good capricciosa. It's always my go-to.
Is that like the salami and like capsicum? Is that? Or am I thinking of something different? Or is that salami and like olives?
Capricciosa, pizza capricciosa is Starvatone, mozzarella cheese, baked ham. I'd take out the sometimes there's anchovies. I take those out.
Artichoke's okay.
Artichoke is fine. I like artichokes. I don't like anchovies. Too strong of a flavor for me. Too very fishy. So always liked the capricciosa growing up. Yourself?
Probably just meat lovers. I'm pretty easy.
Meat
lovers. So I am privy to I'm partial to was it Hungry Jack's or Domino's cheeseburger pizza at the moment. They're quite nice. So yeah. I know it's weird. It's not traditional, but yeah.
For me, but nowadays I'm very happy just having a margarita. John, how's it going, John? First comment for this one. Did you know that taste buds do not develop? They actually become less sensitive, meaning you want more intense flavors to get the same hit. It is why kids do not like really strong foods. Okay. So that means that pizza, the fact that I like pizza now as a grown-up means that pizza has a stronger flavor than the barbecue. That makes sense. Barbecue is more subdued. Well, there you go, John. I learned something new tonight. Well done.
That's probably why like people like mushrooms and olives and whatnot as adults versus liking them as kids.
Yeah, no, I'm a Mediterranean, brother. I love those foods.
Oh, yeah.
Fellas, predictions for Coleman, Brownlow, and Rising Star. Rising Star, just give it to Harvey Reid already, I imagine.
Well, you do your 3, and then I'll do my 3. So you've done your Rising Star. Who's your next one?
Rising Star's Harvey Reid.
Yeah.
Brownlow. You know what? If Clayton Oliver doesn't come back this year, then I reckon Petrarca's in with a real fair shake because he doesn't have he won't have Oliver stealing votes from him. So I'm gonna go left. I'm gonna go left field. I'm gonna go Petrarca for Brownlow as a result. And for the Coleman, I haven't thought about the Coleman, to be honest. Who has an easy fixture this year? Who plays West Coast and North Coast twice? Yeah, who plays West Coast and North? Whoever plays West Coast and North twice is the best chance at winning the Coleman.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna Larky to win the Coleman. Of course, he'd say that. Of course, he'd say that. Causa, North supporter.
Hey, I haven't given my predictions yet.
All right, go. What's your prediction?
Coleman, I'm going to go Larky. I just think that North Melbourne, as a better team, are going to have better delivery. Yes, some of the half forwards are going to take a bit of that role and a bit of the ball off him, but Larky's fantastic and he just wants the ball all the time. So he's the one for me. Brownlow, I think Nick Daicos. I think the AFL kind of tried to make it happen last year, and then he obviously got injured and was almost winning it off 4 games less than everyone else. So jump on the Nick Daicos train. It's one of the reasons why I think he is a good shout in Supercoach as well, just because they're going to be feeding him the ball and punching up his stats every week. Rising Star, if fit, I think George Wardlaw has it in the bag. Like Wardlaw is going to be very, very good, and if he can play a full season, he's good. Like he's done.
Tell me you're back for North Melbourne without telling me you're back for North
Have
Melbourne.
you seen his Joe? He played 4 games last year, and now he's like 360k. Look at his stats, mate, as a first-year player versus good teams, and say he's not going to do well if he's fit. Like, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Mate.
Yeah. Before you say that, I'm sorry. If he's fit, he's going to stay on the path.
I can say if he's fit. I can say if he's fit. That's my prediction. He's going to win.
You have to stay on the park to win it, mate. You can't.
That's all right. So does every player.
Yeah,
Harley Reid could knacker himself and then not win it too. So
he's more likely to be injured. Luke, massive thanks, my brother.
Luke.
You are an absolute superstar.
We had some goals at the start of the vision too, so definitely jump on for that if you can.
100% on you, Luke. You're an absolute legend. You always spoil us, my friend. Hearing Sam Darcy training in defense. Ooh,
yeah. Doggies need a lot. Doggies definitely need some help. I think they've got too many guys to play the positions that they've got. So they've got to find a spot for all these people, and they keep getting all these really good father-sons as well. So they've got to try and play them, right? If he relegated in the VFL for a long time and just couldn't get a game, I think he'd look for another contract, and I think his dad would not be very happy. So, yeah.
I mean, Buku Kamis is also training in the back line, but we also can't forget that Bevo is
got Buslinger as well, who's never really played a game, and a few of the other guys too. So backline, I think, is really midfield's fantastic, but I think their backline's really their biggest weakness. So if they can start putting in some players that and finding a team that's actually going to work out well for them, I think they're going to be okay.
I'm pretty sure Bevo last week also had everyone training out of position. He had Aaron Norton playing in the midfield last week.
Oh, there you go.
Which
Bevo really did just throw the magnets on the board and said, "You're playing here." Cody Waitman taking kickouts, you know.
Yeah, he had Cody Waitman in the midfield as well. He just
done
something stupid. Stephen McRae to end AFL career at Dogs after a showing this year, come to play with the brother.
It wouldn't surprise me. It would not surprise me, especially if he got delisted. I think they would be one to throw some money at him, especially with Finn McRae. I'm not sure if he's re-signed the contract or not, but he's definitely up for contract. So it could be one of those things that keeps him in the team, because he's obviously not happy with Bevo at the moment.
No, I mean, who would be, seriously? And Velo was saying that the question, and Velo was saying that the question about the Papley, Pickett, or Bedford was for Supercoach. None of them, Velo.
Well, then
none of them.
You pick Bedford.
No, don't pick any of them.
Yeah, you would. You'd pick Bedford.
I'm not picking Bedford. Velo, don't pick Bedford, please. I'm finding it tough to pick Geelong or Western Bulldogs because of the coaches. Exactly. But there is someone that you can be guaranteed will get midfield time. And that is, of course, Tom the Bulldog Liberatore. Yeah. He's a guarantee.
I think that might be us, Joe.
Yes,
it's been an amazing live stream, guys. Thanks for jumping on. 2.5 hours plus. I know the wife is saying, "Hey, go to bed and hang out with me," because you're talking too much Supercoach. So I'm like, mate, it's day one. Let's go. If you like what you see, as it says down the bottom, guys, smash that like button. Even if you think it doesn't help us, it kind of helps us grow and helps us get noticed that way. Subscribe as normal. Joe, what do we really have coming up over the next week or so? I know we've kind of spoken a bit off air about what we're putting out.
Any video you can think of in relation to the game of AFL Supercoach, it is coming out. We are doing a lot of content. A lot of player reviews, player spotlights are continuing to come out, and I'm always open to suggestions that I'm taking. I've still got my list of players that I'm working through, and you can always feel free, as you have been in the comments, to continue to suggest certain players that you would like to know more about. We'll also be opening up a league for all of you guys to be joining for us, and I think we're going to be doing the prizes again, right?
Yep. Yeah, 100%. It was fantastic last year, had really good engagement. All the stuff's come out as well. So we sent off our jersey, waiting for the games to start before we can buy some tickets and hand out that AFL voucher. So starting up again for next year. It's going to be bigger. It's going to be better. Tell your friends, guys.
Yeah, we're doing the player watch list video. Yes, just absolutely, Steve. Not going to forget about that. Also, make sure that you put in your diaries that you're going to come back to us, and we're going to be doing the live watch along of those round 0 games. We'll be doing be reading up on all of the reports that come out of the practice games as well. But of course, that's not for some time yet. So that's not till next month. But definitely hit the notification bell here on the channel and subscribe so that you don't miss any of the videos that we're continuing to put out on a regular basis, because we do the hard work so that you wonderful people don't have to.
Mate, 100%.
And with that, adieu. Bon nuit, good night. We'll see you on the next one. Absolutely. Bye-bye.